Under a full moon, warriors point their spears up. Their leader at the front tells his crew to go kill that demon. They start riding. Across from them, a white-haired boy with wing-like eyes on his back charges the knights. He shocks the leader, who instantly orders an attack. The boy uses dark energy to tear the leader apart. The boy keeps massacring, hitting warriors multiple times with his dark energy hand. He's effortlessly wiping out tons of humans. Yoon creates purple fire, burning knights on the ground. He then summons portals, and octopus-like dark masses grab warriors. Despite fighting a huge army, Nox is alive. He keeps battling, but exhaustion makes him kneel, revealing 3 demonic eyes on his back. The white-haired boy looks sad. Holding his sword, he tries to get up and rejoin the fight. As he stands, the boy notices something and looks. Someone in gray armor recognizes that demon. A red-haired girl says his choice makes no sense. She claims the white-haired boy betrayed his group, asking why he joined evil. Finally, she calls our protagonist, Nox von Ranhaber. The boy, even with her appearance, stays still, holding his sword. Hearing, he says he didn't betray anyone first. His friend and group betrayed him. The girl calls it a lie, asking what he means and why he's acting this way. Still smiling, he's about to reply, but states he was forced. We flash back to a system screen. Someone finished Interlunatic Part 1. A boy playing on his messy computer sees this. He's happy, having gotten lots of items and achievements this time. However, the young man thinks he won't be able to play that game next month. 2 years ago, we see someone's brain ultrasound. The doctor tells Yu-chan to calm down and listen up. We then see him with a totally crushed look, like he just heard the worst news ever. Later, at the hospital, the boy looks bummed out, holding a paper. Back to the doctor, he tells Yu-chan that after the exam, he checked his records. He had no other answers, just pain meds to help Chan deal with the pain for now. Suddenly, a box of medicine falls. Yu sits in his computer chair, thinking it's been 2 years since he got that diagnosis. He looks over, seeing a trash pile by his dresser. He coughs, feeling terrible. He looks at his hand, sees blood. He thinks he's gonna die soon. Yushan says no matter what, the answer was the same. This disease will kill him. Chan grabs his phone, sees a notification, and tries to unlock it. He looks through his chats, realizing he has no one to call. Yu thinks no one cares and he's alone for his last days. Holding the bloody tissue, he realizes he can't even go out and have fun. Suddenly, he sees some papers on his dresser. His illness is terminal cancer. These are pamphlets for fake miracle cures. Annoyed, the boy crumples and throws everything. Frustrated, Yu sweats and cries, staring at his screen. Inner Lunatic is open, and Yu says it's all he has left. He starts a new game, making a new character. To distract from his pain, he wonders what to make. He considers magic genius or sword martial arts genius. But the game warns of a penalty for 2 genius traits, so he must pick one. His character's negative trait is a time limit. He just stares at his screen, silent. Chan says just like him, his character has limited time. The system asks if he wants to start, and he accepts. Suddenly, something appears behind him. He gets a terrible feeling, loses balance, and falls off his chair. Yu-chan leans on the desk, barely standing, shocked he's dying. Suddenly, the system appears, confirming character creation. Yu knows his death is really close, but he wanted to choose how he'd die. Then, the screen says his character's name changed. A synchronization process loads. Suddenly, we see a giant house with a beautiful balcony. Synchronization finishes. Yu-chan wakes up in a new body with white hair, in bed. Startled, he gets up, totally confused. Getting out of bed, he feels a familiar vibe. Confused, he walks around the room, then stops, saying he's got a hunch. Looking in the mirror, he sees something unbelievable. He's in the game he played! And his face is Nox, a crazy character from the game. Nox von Reinhardtbohr is one of Inner Lunatic's 3 Darkness Masters. He's the youngest of 5 Reinhardtbohr siblings, from Lunatic's richest family, known for sword and magic. But Nox was the only one in his family with no talent. Without any, he got angry and allied with demons, becoming Lunatic's biggest disaster. He touches his face, trying to see if he's really Nox or dreaming. Suddenly, his system appears with info about Nox. He can't believe he's seeing a status window right in front of him, but he quickly realizes it's all nonsense and gets totally frustrated. Yu also checks his negative traits and sees he has many. Furious, he realizes this is the character he created before coming to this world. He notices one negative trait is the time limit, meaning he'll die here too. He can't remember why, but it seems obvious he wanted a character like himself. Chan explains that with nowhere to escape, his only fate is death, so he just wanted to feel represented in Inner Lunatic. He never imagined such a character could bring disaster. Suddenly, the system says Yu has an unread message. He clicks to read it. The screen speaks to him, calling him Yu-chan. However, it says it should call him Nox now. Due to his confused memories, he can't remember if Yu-chan was even his real name. He's unsure if his parents are alive, with only their given name left. He then realizes that was his name before this body. The message says Yu-chan likely forgot them, but wanted to say something. It adds long time no see, confusing him. Subsedge says his last 2 years were tough, and he deserved to live here. The system then welcomes Yu-chan back to that world, leaving him stunned. He's deep in thought, realizing he's no longer in his world, and this is his new reality. The system tells you that while his identity can't be fully revealed, they'll help him as much as they can. Reading this, he's confused, unsure who this person is. The system tells him to enter Eldian Academy, build strength, and follow Inner Lunatic's main story. Then the truth will come out. But hearing this, he gets really scared. First, he tries to understand everything that happened. He was born as Inner Lunatic's final boss and had to follow the main story. Yu says no matter how he sees it, he'll just die. But even if Inner Lunatic is his reality, he won't give up on his memories. Chan will follow the main storyline no matter what. He'll find out why he's here, like his lost memories, and survive. He also says he's willing to become a true villain for this. He then realizes not much has changed from his old life. 2 years before losing his memories, he was terminally ill. Every moment meant one step closer to death, wasting his life in fear. Only the setting changed. It became a world he knew and understood well. He finally asks the system what day it is. It tells him it's 0204-112. He realizes he doesn't have much time, making him anxious. With fiery resolve, he'll start his 28th attempt to beat it. He goes to open his bedroom door, but his wrist hurts. A pain confuses him, stopping the action. The system tells him a negative status is active. Constant pain caused Nox's wrists to inflame. Leaving his room, he wonders what was wrong with his body, and if it was really that fragile. Suddenly, he bumps into a young maid. She drops dishes, which instantly shatter on the floor. Confused, she asks who did that, but seeing it's young master Nox, she panics. Looking closer, our protagonist realizes it's probably Rona. Desperate, the young woman quickly apologizes, begging forgiveness for harming the Lord. He remembers she was odd, but only talked behind Nox's back. He can't believe this girl would talk behind Nox's back. He kneels and forgives her. Nox, with a scary look, warns that any more mistakes mean merciless punishment. Terrified, Rona quickly apologizes and agrees. He notices everything is quiet, and the other servants look scared. They're in shock, confused by his behavior. He forgot he's supposed to be insane, like Nox in the game. Frustrated, he wonders about the body's previous life. Rona asks where the young master is going so early. He replies he's headed to the training hall. The servants are shocked, not expecting it. He asks Rona to come along, shocking her into thinking he'll hit her. The two walk slowly through the corridors. Yu-chan had been silent, only thinking he needed to survive first. After feeling death, he's certain he absolutely doesn't want to die. To survive, he needed to adapt to his new situation fast. Yu says he still has a chance. It all depends on his effort. Rona, hearing her master, looks confused. He played the game 27 times, so he knows most of the city's hidden aspects. He activates his status window, explaining the game's story. Yu says Inner Lunatic pits angels against demons and the Empire with a huge global fanbase. Its special part, many customizations for different styles. Lower traits, like common and talented, can be assimilated multiple times. Most genius traits can only be assimilated once, making it easier to reach the top. Our protagonist only has 2. He says the game has a trait penalty. You can get 2 genius traits, but it has downsides. One was Combat Swordsmanship Genius, letting you master swords. The other, Mana-Sensitive Genius, boosts magic and makes spells better. He thinks there are other useful traits, like the main character's skill, letting you see other characters' status windows. Another is Master of Acting, letting you easily fool people. Steel Mentality helps you stay calm and regulate mental strength in battle. The only problem is negative traits, like Time Limit, the worst. He sighs at his bad abilities, thinking he's a walking hospital. Yushan tells himself, with cold negativity, you can't enter frozen areas without a warm ability, and with constant ailment, he'll pass out every chapter. Scratching his head, Yu-chan says he has no choice but to take it one step at a time. Looking up, Rona sees they're near the training hall, wondering if he'll go in until something surprises her. Our protagonist stood still staring. Rona watched. He finally opened the training hall doors, thinking he had something to do first. We see the Curse of Weakness, which halves growth. Nox knows he needs to get rid of it. Sword in hand, he tells himself he only reaches one conclusion. Before saying his conclusion, he swings his sword, then finally says he's screwed. After just a few swings, he's already totally tired and exhausted. Nox tells himself it's like reading the start of a story, then throws his sword. Our protagonist couldn't swing it more than 10 times, all because of the curse. Soon after, Nox gets up, looking around and thinking he has a bunch of weapons. The Rhine Harbor family started with the sword, after all. He thinks the Rhine Harbor family is best described as the high class of blade and darkness. They got this title by putting black mana into swords to finish enemies. This was all thanks to the Commander's Blade, or Tyrannical Blade of Darkness, passed down to each leader. Nox also tells himself that besides fencing, being a noble family had advantages, like power and influence. But the biggest advantage of that family was their huge money. Happily, he says money was everything good, thinking of all he could do. Nox also says his Rhine Harbor family is one of the biggest noble families ever, meaning they're super rich. Even he, the youngest and most useless son, had enough money to never work. Nox's dad, Theo, didn't care how his son spent money, and Nox isn't even the typical youngest son of a noble family. But his character was pretty clear. Nox pulls himself together, standing up again with shaky legs. He can't run until Rona brings his stuff. Minutes later, the maid arrives with a cart. The maid says his towel, water, and sword are ready. She wonders if Nox really plans to exercise, since that's not like him. He asks if no one's around, then tells Ronan to come closer. She gets scared, thinking he'll hit her. He doesn't hit her. Instead, he grabs his maid's ear. Then he tells her something we don't know yet. Ronan, shocked by his request, asks when he'd use that money. She also says all his ideas were trash. Before she can talk, he tells her to shut up and do what he said. As she leaves, she thinks he hasn't changed at all. After she leaves, he figures Rona will be back by morning. Nox goes to the table with the items and pours himself some tea. Drinking tea, he needs to fix that stamina curse. Suddenly, someone comes up, calling his name. He looks back, it's head butler, Rodwell Diurnarch. Rodwell's a main guy at Rhine Harbor Estate, not to be messed with. Rodwell advises Nox's dad, Theo von Rhine Harbor. Trembling, he knows he must face this, then turns around. Nox thinks Rodwell wouldn't care, and wonders if he noticed something weird, but he figures he has his own way to handle this. He uses his acting skill, asking the butler why he's there, not with the family head. The butler replies he's there to give Nox news, on the family head's orders. Earnhardt says the big news is Nox can come to dinner tonight. Nox is confused, thinking he knows nothing about this family, yet he's already eating with them. He tells the butler he can't make dinner. The butler wonders why his boss wants Nox there, then explains the Stilliner family's daughter is visiting to train. He pictures the girl, then warns if Nox bails, his dad will be furious. Sighing, Nox sees no way out, so he agrees, understanding his spot. The butler notes Nox is acting strange, and Nox asks why. Earnhardt says Nox never cared about swords, but he's practicing alone. The butler asks why Nox is doing this. Nox gets aggressive and says he'll make one thing clear. He tells Earnhardt not to cross the line, he's just a butler. Nox says his actions are his own, not Rodwell's. The butler looks intimidated, not handling it well. He bows to Nox, apologizing. Nox turns and leaves. Rodwell wonders if something's up with Nox and will tell the family leader. Soon we see the beautiful Rhine Harbor estate mansion. Nox, just out of training, is trembling, saying he never thought this would happen. Nox wonders what if possession activated, but shrugs it off. He recalls the Stilliner girl the butlers mentioned since he played that game. Confused, Nox wonders about the girl. Cut to evening. A foolish boy mocks someone for showing up to eat. Nox is the target, sitting calmly. His bullies, the twins Hartz and Allen, still making fun of him. One says Nox showing up is unbelievable. They mock him for looking at the maid, calling him a lost cause. Nox just listens, thinking he did nothing. Suddenly, the doors open, and someone important arrives, noting everyone's here. It's Theo von Reinhaber, the mansion and fortune owner. Hugh Shan sees him, realizing he's Nox's dad, the Rhine Harbor leader, and he's with the girl. Then we meet Talia von Stilliner, who introduces herself to the family, looking stunning. The family head says the Stilliner girl asked for night training here, so she'll be staying for a bit. Theo asks all his kids to welcome her. Our hero sees her and realizes Talia's the future heroine in Lunatic. She's Nox's future enemy, and eventually she'll stab him. Nox's dad is surprised to see him show up. Tension builds between Nox and the guest, then they head to the dining room. The family eats peacefully. Nox glares at his brothers, who tease him. One twin asks Dad to pick the next Elden Academy student. Nox is interested. Theo agrees it's time to decide. Our hero says Elden Academy is key in Inner Lunatic. Academy students fight demons, the game's main story. He needs to get into that academy, gather allies, and stick to the original plot. Theo says everyone knows the academy only allows 3 per family. This limits noble influence. He used 2 spots for his first and second sons, so only 1 ticket is left for Rhine Harbor. Nox needs to get the academy ticket no matter what, as the system asked. Theo says he's following family traditions, the method ancestors used. The weak, white-haired young man guesses his dad wants a brother fight. His dad surprised his weakest son reacted first. He agrees, the fight's in a month, next entrant picked by duel. One twin tells Nox to be quiet. The other says weaklings like him, who never held a sword, stand no chance. The heroine seems bothered. Nox sips wine, replies his brother can only say that after winning. One twin gets mad, asking if Nox, a failure, can beat strong people. Our hero thinks this duel is another hurdle for the entry ticket. Annoyed, he won't listen to insults and gets ready to reply. Proudly, he states he'll enter Elden Academy. Theo's shocked, hearing this from the last person. The twins are furious at his claim. Talia's impressed by his confidence, saying he seems super sure. But Nox isn't happy about her reaction. He realizes he just got the wrong kind of attention. Later, papers sit on a main hall table. Theo says Nox is different, just as the butler reported. Ron Will quickly replies it's just his opinion, but it's true. Nox's father thinks he wouldn't believe it without seeing it himself. He's thoughtful, wondering what caused his son's change. Worst case, he wonders if a demon possessed his son. But he just says the boy caught his attention, then dismisses the butler. He tells the butler to watch Nox. Later, he's running in the training hall. Maids comment. They're confused because he only ever runs. Even as exhausted, Nox keeps running, not deterred. Confused, Yu Chen wonders why he hears the maids, right after his stamina stat increases by 0.1. Nox is annoyed by the tiny increase, running because his stamina is super low. Genius of combat swordsmanship needs stamina above 4. Anyone not weak like him should use it instantly. But with the weakness curse, it took him a month to raise his stamina by just 19. The curse halves his growth rate, so after all that running, he only gained 0.1 stamina. The time limit trait also halves his growth, making him work 4 times harder. Even so, he can only reach 15 stamina max because of it, but he won't worry now. Later, Rona arrives with a carton, telling her young master she brought all the requested supplies. Nox is pleased she was faster, saying he can make progress now. Rona's table has many unique, strange ingredients. Confident, he'll use his knowledge to solve these problems. Later, in the training room, the maid asks why her young master wanted all that. She notes poison is hard to handle and people avoid it. Only the scroll seems useful. The young man replies it's hard because no one knows how to use it. He grabs a vial, ready to do something. Out of nowhere, Nox drinks the poison and Rona is horrified. He immediately gets sick, confirming it was deadly. But surprisingly, the system says his health went up 15 times, though a death timer starts soon. Rona says she'll call the head butler, but he tells her to stop. Then Nox eats another strange item, the golem core. Rona gets even more scared. The system warns he'll slowly petrify, but a hidden mechanism activates. The Gorgon's poison reacts with the golem core. Nox realizes his plan is finally working. He explains golem cores usually petrify people for defense, or make artificial golems. But with Gorgon's poison, a new effect triggers. The Curse of Weakness trait vanishes. Nox is thrilled, but Rona stays worried. Still, he thinks there's one more step as his maid asks if he's okay. Suddenly, he starts taking off his shirt, leaving Rona shocked. Embarrassed, she covers her eyes, but she sees he's reaching for the vial she brought. Yu Chan pours the dew of the Fairy of Remembrance on himself, making the golem core's petrification disappear. The dew also reacts with the core, and Nox says it gives him a weird feeling. The hidden mechanism activates, and he temporarily gets the Blessing of Evolution trait. He's thrilled everything went to plan. Finally, he notes one more step, grabbing the scroll. He uses it, doubling his stomach growth rate again. Yu Chan thinks he got rid of the curse, and the Blessing of Evolution plus the scroll limits the time limit trait. Now his evolution rate is double most people's, so he can boost stamina stats way faster. Meanwhile, his maid, scared he'd die, jumps into his arms, hugging him. Crying, she asks if he's okay, saying what he did was crazy. She says he just started stripping, and she thought he'd lost it. But Nox ignores Rona, only asking for a towel. Still, Rona isn't happy and keeps crying. He thinks since the curse is gone, he should be nicer to his maid. Yushan tells her he's fine, and Rona asks if he'll be okay without calling the head butler. He smiles, says he's fine. Rona asks his plan. With his plan ready, he just says he'll run as much as he can. Later, the sun hits the Rhine Harbor mansion. Nox runs constantly to boost his stamina. Rona's not resting, right behind him with a towel. Someone watches them from afar. It's Talia watching. She's amazed weak Nox took a duel against his brothers. Emma scolds her, saying she shouldn't see him that way. Emma tries to say it's rude, but Talia gets annoyed and tells her to stop. Nox can't even hold a sword, he just runs. She adds that other Rand Harbor knights offered to teach him, but he turned them all down. She says in a month he'll get beat, and that'll be it. She thinks that's what will happen, but something's making her anxious. Talia decides to act, walking off as Emma tries to stop her but fails. Soon after, she arrives at the training field where Nox is exercising. He's sitting resting from his tough run. The red-haired girl walks up and introduces herself as Talia. Confused, Nox wonders why she came to talk to him. He asks what she wants, saying he'd heard that name before. Talia is surprised by his cold attitude and wonders why. Proud, the noble girl thinks Nox is stunned by her beauty. That's why he acted that way. She then asks if he can really beat his brothers. She also says he can't think he has a chance just by running. It makes no sense. Feeling great, she offers to help him if he wants. But Nox coldly refuses, saying he's not interested and she can just leave. Talia asks how he dares since she was only trying to help. Seeing this, Rona thinks if he talks like that to everyone, girls will hate him. Talia gets mad and bumps into Nox as she storms out furious. Nox is confused by her reaction, saying it made things complicated, while his maid looks at him with disdain. He observes her talents, saying they're insane. He explains that normally most guys have 4 stamina, but her stamina was insane. Nox adds that while this isn't close to the continent's 3 swordmasters or 4 archmages, she could at least get to their level. He also thinks Talia could kill demons with her firepower. Nox realizes Talia's magic fire eventually turns white and later burns a demonized Nox. If Talia became his ally, the future story would change. He needed to follow the original story, but avoid dying. But he can't be friends with the person who's supposed to kill him. A month later, sunlight fills the Rand Harbor mansion. Talia slowly walks through the halls. Talia seemed deep in thought. She remembers warriors praising her for learning fast. But for some reason, she hates being praised for her family's talent. This brings back memories of losing a fight to her sister. These thoughts make her sad. She grips her sword angrily. Can she really become a knight? A knight must never be greedy, always restrain, sacrifice for good, and be just. Talia wonders if that arrogant boy could beat brothers who trained for years when all he did was run. Determined, she says Nox couldn't do that. The next day, we see the battleground. In the arena, our hero faces his family opponent. Nobles, including Theo Italia, watch from a balcony. Theo's first wife, Cecilia and Rodwell, are also watching. Theo asks his butler what he thinks will happen. He seems uneasy answering. We skip ahead after the butler gives his opinion. Then, the judge asks everyone to pay attention to something important. He announces the official duel for Academy entry is starting now, and begins the fight. Our hero's brother charges his sibling, trying to end the fight. Back to when Theo asked Rodwell. The butler says, based on the young master's past, Alan would win. Theo agrees, saying he thought the same. Rodwell wondered if the patriarch expected something else. He thought Nox had changed, but still didn't believe the kid would win. He figured it was impossible, watching our protagonist face his brother. The servant remembered being a knight with the patriarch. Sword fighting can be beautiful or simple. Your skill just depends on training and how much you value it. There was only one way to flip things and make your opponent kneel. It took insane talent. The butler wondered if young Master Nox had it. Theo replied that even with the most likely outcome, the chance is never 0. If Nox had Rain Harbor blood, he could still be a sword genius. Our protagonist realized his sword genius trait was inactive and wondered why he was so unlucky despite high luck. He couldn't hit level 4 stamina, remembering he only got to 38. Rona, right behind him, asked if she really had to keep chasing her lord. He said it wouldn't be fun without her. No one else would care for him. Shamelessly, he gave his used handkerchief to the maid, who made a cute face. He wondered if his maid was cursing him, but Rona said no, biting her lip. Yu Chan thought all that running must be boosting his ally's stamina too. Checking her stats, Rona had 45 stamina. Shocked, he wondered what was in that family's water, since even their maid had more stamina than average. Frustrated by his stats, our protagonist complained that after a month's hard work, he was still weaker than a side character. Rona told her master the sun was setting. He should rest since his duel was tomorrow. Looking at the sky, he wasn't ready. He needed more time. Back in the present, his brother called him. Alan, being a jerk, told Nox to surrender as his older brother. He kept acting superior, saying Nox was a family disgrace and it hurt to beat him. Nox realized Alan was lying. Alan replied it was obvious. His real plan was to beat his brother and brag to Talia. Feeling underestimated, Nox told Alan not to do that. He knew Alan had 8 stamina. There was no way he could win with his current strength. Confused, Nox wondered what to do. The judge declared this duel would decide who represents the leader's name in the Magic Academy. The judge says whoever wins both must accept it. Yu-chan thought if he lost, everything was over. His memory quest, finding the message sender, and his life past the one-year deadline would all be gone. He gripped his sword tight. Back to when the judge started the fight, Alan charged his opponent. Our protagonist rolled aside, dodging the attack. Still fast, he stopped instantly. Alan just said his little brother got lucky. The white-haired boy kept attacking Nox. Nox thought the rule was, lose everything if you lose, but if you win, you gain it all. Suddenly, his stamina went up 1 point, and he knew his plan worked. Alan saw his brother's reaction, asking if his amazing hits impressed him. He kept attacking, saying his hits would make Nox wake up. Facilia thought the personality change talk was pointless. She worried for nothing. Watching her son beat Nox, she said the third Rhine Harbor spot, like the first two, was for her sons. She called Nox pathetic. Looking at Theo, she thought that family would be hers one day, showing a malicious look. Theo wondered if Nox had reached his limit. Rodwell, watching the beating, suggested his master stop the duel, fearing Nox might get badly hurt. The patriarch thought Alan and Hearts were mediocre. Sadly watching, Theo said none of his sons would dominate the world. Seeing Nox tired and struggling to breathe, he said none would be worthy of the vanquisher. The man sighed, starting to rise to stop the duel. But then, our protagonist, while defending, got the stamina he wanted, and his genius combat skill activated. Alan, seeing his brother's strange look, asked if he finally realized what he'd lost. But then the boy activated his genius time skill and unleashed his power. Our protagonist thought someone he couldn't remember once said a genius and an ordinary person experienced time differently. After activating the skill, he finally understood how time passed for a genius. He said everything moved very slowly, as if time had slowed down. But his new ability didn't make him a perfect swordmaster, nor guarantee battle domination. But he wasn't a sleeping genius anymore. So, Alan gets ready to hit his brother, who's watching it all in slow motion. Super fast, Nox blocks the attack and knocks his brother's sword away. Alan is shocked, seeing that little genius. Our hero is pumped, thinking he's totally won. Nox's hit sends Alan's sword flying, so he can't fight anymore. Hit in the hand, the young man crouches, annoyed. Our hero tells his opponent this is fun, with a scary look. Alan's super mad, asking what the boy is saying, but he's ignored. Our hero ignores his brother, thinking he can't let his guard down. Nox's power only lasts 5 minutes, so he needs to finish quickly. He tells his brothers he was holding back, but it was too boring, so he'd change that. Nox suggests they finish fast, asking both twins to fight him. Alan and Hearts are offended. Our hero quickly asks his dad if he can fight both brothers at once. Theo, who couldn't believe it, stays quiet to think. Roger and Talia couldn't believe what the boy was doing. Nox's dad, proud, thinks his son's energy changed, and he has a trick, so it's worth watching. The patriarch quickly allows the 2-on-1 since his son asked. Facilia is not happy and questions her husband, but he ignores her. The man says the twins should fight Nox. Alan grabs his sword, and Hearts asks how that kid dared to embarrass them. Despite everything, our hero looks calm and smiles. The twins get ready and tell Nox to do the same. They charge at Nox together in sync to end the fight fast. But alone Nox, with his new power on, blocks both attacks. One twin tells his brother to go for Nox from the left, but the other, annoyed, tells him to shut up. Even with attacks from all sides, Nox stays chill and keeps defending. The system tells him his swordsmanship genius proficiency went up thanks to genius time, and he's stoked. Many attacks hit him, but he blocks every single one. The twins, arguing and out of sync, fumble and crash. Frustrated, they pull back from Nox. Talia couldn't contain her excitement, standing to watch. Nox, pleased, thinks everyone's eyes are asking how he changed. He says his brothers, who always mistreated him, now have the same look. The twins glance, planning, but Nox cuts in, saying he already warned them. Nox warns them not to get distracted, then charges. He quickly strikes both brothers as he passes. He attacks Alan and Hearts non-stop, forcing them back and cornering them. He thinks that even with high stakes, just swinging his sword makes him happy. He keeps striking his brothers, wanting to end the fight fast. Rodwell, Talia, and Theo are stunned by one boy beating two. One twin, getting hit, says it's impossible, then gets thrown down. Nox has cornered the twins with his hits, leaving them basically defeated. Nox's genius time ends, and he stands still in front of his brothers. Even after winning, he's a bit sad his ability is over. The twins' mom calls out to her sons, worried. Nox quickly asks the judge if a winner's decided, and he agrees. The judge announces young master Nox Ryan Harbor as the winner. Alan, on the ground, is furious. Right after, he drops his sword, disappointed in himself. Theo just watches, unsure if what he's seeing is real. Clever Nox looks at his father, checking for a proud look. Then he bows, telling everyone he's off. He confidently leaves the room. Talia wanted to talk, but only watches him walk away. She knew she had to talk to him right then. Soon after, the sun was almost down. After leaving, our hero was totally wiped. He saw his hand was bloody, probably from overusing his power. Nox's genius time ability has a big flaw. Overuse gives him a decline debuff. The system warned that his life was cut by 2 days and 17 hours. Nox realized this debuff was the worst. It permanently shortens his life and makes him sick. He was glad no one saw it, or his academy admission would be cancelled. The boy looked lost, but Talia showed up behind him to talk. She asked if Nox was hurt, but he just got annoyed she was there. Talia found him, and he got annoyed. His dad couldn't know about his power decline. Talia then said she couldn't believe he fought his brothers while so messed up. Embarrassed, she fiddled with her hair, then admitted she'd misunderstood Nox. Talia had only seen Nox clumsily swing a wooden sword for a month. She never saw him wield a real sword, so for him to win, he had to be talented. Talia ran after him, wanting to know how he got so strong. But after the duels, she saw Nox and realized he'd hurt himself. Confused, she wondered what was happening. She realized Nox didn't beat his brothers by being a genius. Talia realized Nox wasn't useless. He just worked hard and gave his all to win. Now our hero coughed from the decline, and Talia asked if he was okay. Coldly, he pushed her hand away, saying not to touch him. He admitted his game obsession made it hard to interact with others. Embarrassed, Talia just apologized. Nox was super confused by her reaction. Talia didn't know Nox was serious about swordsmanship, thinking he was fragile. She now gets why he only did stamina training and apologized for misunderstanding him. Talia said acting useless wasn't Nox's plan, as her maid Emma said mistakes happen. Our hero, not used to people, couldn't reply. She was so honest, just like in the game. He knows Talia's a knight from a proud Duke family, so admitting she messed up is tough for her. He uses this moment, telling Talia if she really sees him that way, please don't tell anyone he was bleeding. Realizing it was about his pride, Talia just says she won't tell anyone. Nox feels better, figuring no one else will find out now. Before heading back to his room, he asks Talia to keep her word. Talia gets super shy, like she's catching feelings. Later, moonlight shines on the Wren Harbor mansion. Theo, in his study, says his guess was right. Bragging, he asks Rodwell about Nox's skill. Rodwell says he didn't get why Nox got hit, but after checking all kids his age, including other young masters, Nox was the best. The Patriarch agrees, feeling Nox was hiding more talent, though he didn't know why. So, the Patriarch tells his butler to just watch Nox's every move closely. He wonders if Nox has the talent to inherit the tyrannical blade of darkness. Clenching his fists, he tells his servant time is short. He tells Rodwell what Nox was doing was vital for the family. Seeing his master relied on him, the servant bows, promising his best. Later, we're in our protagonist's room. The system says he finished the tutorial and won his first fight. He sees this world as real, but the game system is still here, which feels weird. The system gives Nox rewards for 2 missions, including 3 status points. Frustrated, Nox complains he ran for a whole month just to get 2 stamina points. He feels the system should have given this reward earlier. Yushan opens his status, deciding where to put points. He says the stat he needs most isn't stamina, but luck, so he puts his 3 points there. He explains that in Inner Lunatic, luck is the most valuable stat. So, Nox decides to check if raising it was a good call. The system finishes Nox's rewards, a random gacha voucher and a skill voucher. Reading this, he's stoked, saying he'll test his luck. He activates the gacha and an interdimensional prize-grabbing machine appears. The boy thinks it's super weird. He uses his voucher to spin, knowing max luck gives a 95% chance for intermediate or higher rank. Basic ranks are white, intermediate is silver, advanced is gold. Rainbow is top tier, so he's aiming for gold or better. The capsule pops out. A golden light shines, revealing a golden scroll. Opening the scroll, Nox gets the advanced trait Fear of the Supreme Ruler. He's thrilled, barely believing he got it, as the system shows the skill info. The skill cuts all stats by 20% for anyone weaker than Noxy. Super excited, he says it's fantastic, shocked he got a debuff skill. He still had another mission reward. The system asks Nox to use a single-use skill voucher. He knows the skill he'll get is decided. He needs it to get one of the Rhine Harbor family's hidden pieces. Theot's gathering siblings at the estate soon. He'll use it there. Plus, someone's returning to Rhine Harbor. Eldon Academy's grace ceremony ended a while ago. The second son should return soon. He realizes he must find the hidden piece and handle grain, with no time to rest. He likely won't worry about Talia anymore. That issue should be done. Talia keeps her promises and has no reason to come back. Next day in the mansion, Nox's thought from last night was totally wrong. Talia's silently there. Confused, he asks what she wants. They settled it yesterday. Shy, she just asks him to say something. But he's confused and asks what she means. She asks Nox how he got strong so fast. Nox stays silent for a moment. He says Talia secretly watched him, seeing his month of training. She's shocked he knew she was watching. She runs after him, begging him to just tell her how he trained. Yu-chan thinks Talia just wants her sister to notice her. He turns, telling Talia that before asking about training, she should think about her own talent first. This makes a light bulb go off in her head, leaving her deep in thought. Never comforted anyone, he's unsure what to say. He tells Talia to stop comparing herself to others, then leaves. She just watches him leave silently. Talia feels super shy, thinking he dropped a cool line and left. Scared and tired, he hopes she doesn't follow. He can't let Talia see him get the hidden piece, or she might kill him. Theo and his twin sons were waiting for Nox. Nox finally arrives at the Randhaber's stable with his family. He thinks this stable is known for the best horses. Rodwell, summoned by his master, approaches. Theo sees everyone, sure they know why they're here. His children will now choose their forever horses. Nox gets hyped, saying it's finally time. He says horses are sacred on the continent and in his family. Mages or knights pick a horse young for a lifelong companion. Elden Academy teaches horsemanship, plus the game has massive wars. If you lose your horse, you need another. Transportation magic is expensive, and horses are vital for travel. So he decides to pick the best horse. Theo reveals Nox, duel winner, picks first. He gives Nox one chance, who then mocks his losing brothers. His father wonders which horse his youngest will pick as he heads to the stable. He passes many animals, finding them cute. He's searching for a specific one, and finally finds an elegant gray horse. He walks right up, telling his father he'll pick that one. Alan, Hertz, and Theo are shocked by his choice. Surprisingly, Nox's father tells him to pick another horse, giving him another chance. Nox figures his dad probably thought his choice was really bad, but he knows he's right. He immediately checks the horse's stats. He explains most summoned creatures have ranks, and can jump ranks as they evolve. The horse could reach a high rank, that's why he chose it. It was an obsidian horse, super rare, named after volcanic rock. If his dad knew, he'd pick it. But it's less tempting now, many traits are off because of a debuff. The horse's negative trait is foretold death. Nox thinks it's even worse than a time limit. He tells his dad he's not changing his mind, this is his pick. Nox tells himself he can save this creature. Theo doesn't get his son's choice, wondering why he picked it. Theo thinks Nox is projecting onto the horse and is just an emotional weakling, which is disappointing. Annoyed, he hopes Nox doesn't regret his choice. Theo turns and leaves, leaving Hearts and Alan confused. Nox can't believe his choice was that disappointing. Rodwell asks Nox to name his horse. The animal licks his hand as he wonders what to call his new pet. He picks Cal, then pets the horse, thinking it's his old game name from Inner Lunatic. He says it's meaningful. Later, the horse is in Nox's room. He couldn't show others what he was doing, so he brought it here. He stares at the horse, thinking it's time. Looking into its eyes, he sees the horse is determined to live. They're practically the same. Like Nox, the horse is fighting to live. Nox knew Rona was spying, telling her to answer. She accidentally opens the door, falls hard, letting him know she was there. Rona asks how he knew. He caught her. He tells Rona to care for his horse. She's shocked to see it on the bed. Rona gets annoyed, saying she'll be cleaning up. Nox says it's a sick course, so Rona should do her best. The horse lies down, and Rona agrees to take care of Cal. Nox says this is a bit problematic, as what's coming will be a huge shock. He wonders if Rona can really handle it. 3 days later, Rona screams from his room, crying because Cal, the horse she loved, had died. Nox sees the girl crying, thinking it's because Cal passed away. He remembers all her effort caring for his horse, so her sadness is understandable. He knew this would happen. Thinking of poor Cal, he remarks the animal just couldn't be saved. He tells Rona to stop crying, saying she's distracting him, but she keeps crying. He tells his maid not to worry, Cal will come back. Rona gets confused, asking if something's wrong with his head. Annoyed, he tells Rona to stand behind him. He pulls a scroll from his coat, and she asks what it is. Nox ignores her, throwing the symbol engraved scroll to the floor. He crouches, injecting mana, which makes a magic circle and purple energy appear. Rona is terrified and confused by this. Seeing it work, Nox gives a small, satisfied smile. Rona asks how he's using mana, but Nox just thinks he can't control it well. He warns if Rona keeps distracting him, Cal will die again, and it'll be her fault. She falls silent as he sharpens his gaze, needing to focus. Nox explains he must do this since he hasn't awakened his mana sensitivity trait yet. The magic circle starts glowing purple. He explains that in this empire, using mana before 15 is forbidden, unless you're Imperial. That's why Imperial descendants are more skilled. But he won't give up. His only option is to pour as much mana as possible into the scroll. As he tries to control it, he feels a faint energy in his palms. Realizing it's actually mana, he gets super happy. He finds it interesting, then uses his one-time skill confirmation voucher. Still focusing on mana control, he knows he can't mess up. He's using black magic. The system then announces Nox has obtained the one-time skill, Necromicron Book of the Dead. Suddenly, a skeletal hand appears, holding a strange purple glowing book. He uses it on his horse, and the system says the target can be revived as undead. The system asks Nox to confirm using the magic on the animal. Nox explains that in Inner Lunatic, there are two types of undead, those revived with black magic. The second type are stronger beings, revived without an ego. Nox notes both types are blindly loyal to their master. But there's a problem. Only the Marvis Shadow family revives corpses as undead. He notes Ryan Harbors are a Shadow family too, but they're knights. Marvis are necromancer families, so players outside the Marvis family shouldn't use this skill. But no, he explains using the one-time skill confirmation voucher let him get a Necronomicon. This Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, let him use Marva's magic. Black hands rise from the ground around the magic circle. The hands surround Cal, the ritual starts. They wrap around the animal, taking control. Suddenly, he starts bleeding from his mouth. Rona worries for her master, but he tells her to be quiet. He keeps pouring mana into the circle to finish it fast. He spits blood again, mana almost gone, but Cal is fully reanimated with a strange aura. The horse looks alive but different. Receiving the skill activation notification, he's thrilled. Finally, the ritual's done and Cal is undead. His plan worked, so Nox smiles. Rona, crying, is confused and sad her young master looks bad. He wipes blood from his mouth and calls his horse. The animal obeys and his head glows. Opening his pet system, Nox sees the predicted death trait gone, and all Cal's qualities active. Right then, the young guy touches Cal's head, saying he's his master now. But before he could do anything, Cal and Nox feel something coming. Desperate, Rona rushes to hug her master and the horse. Nox is confused, asking what she's doing, but the maid cries upset. She thought her master was hurt, wondering about his reckless mana use and Cal's carelessness. But the horse acts disdainfully, irritating her. She orders the horse to spit out the food she gave him, and Nox just smiles. His next goal, the hidden piece. Days later, at Rand Harbor Mansion. Full moon night, Nox ran outside. He wore a cloak to hide his identity. Yu-chan held a white crystal and paper. He thought this path wasn't much different from the game. He tucked a map, glad it led to the Rhine Harbor's second hidden piece. He needed it to counter his time limit trait. Walking through the forest, he hears something scary. He grabs his sword, ready. He wondered if he worried for nothing. A sign reminds him, this is reality, not a game. Caution is key. The sign warned, this forest, Mia, gets kids lost and killed. Nox decides he doesn't want to die. System warns, Nox entered the Forest of Lost Children. Fail and he dies. He steps in. The Forest of Lost Children is in Rang Harbor, with a forbidden entrance. Even skilled guides or hunters get lost, making everyone feel like a child. Nox notes that, despite its mysteries, the forest has another meaning. Adults killing monsters get no artifacts. Adults get no benefit. If an adult goes, monster difficulty increases. In the game, he died often before finding the way. This forest was at least 2.5 stars difficult, since game difficulty scaled with stars. He tried hard to beat it, not knowing what items would drop, but actually got a special item. He grabs a stick, wraps it with flammable cloth to make a torch. He quickly lights it, illuminating the forest, but something reacts strangely to the torch. The torch flame moves a certain way, like it's guiding him. Nox realizes the key to clearing the Forest of Lost Children is the smoke's direction. It guides the player. But he explains it's not enough to just follow the smoke. That's a trap. He needs to go the opposite way. He starts doing something, thinking he needs to act. Something's been bugging him since he entered. Almost mad, he asks how long someone plans to hide, demanding they show themselves now. The forest goes silent. No one answers Nox, which really annoys him. He realizes this unknown being will hide until the mission ends, so he'll have to do something. He draws his sword and slashes a nearby bush to reveal the person. In a flashback, a girl complains her beauty didn't work on Nox, leaving her frustrated. Turns out it's Talia, who says she just can't get it. Emma, next to her, begs her to stop following young Master Nox. The woman says if she keeps it up, she'll get scolded too, along with her mistress. Embarrassed, Talia promises her maid won't be fired and says not to worry. Back at the mansion, the woman thinks young Lady Talia is talented enough to be the next matriarch if young Lady Chell wasn't around. She wonders why Talia feels inferior to her sister and is so impatient. Heading to her mistress's room, the maid figures Talia gave up on Nox and is sleeping. But when she enters the room, it's totally empty. Emma instantly realizes her mistress is missing and panics. She can't believe Talia actually went to meet young Master Nox, causing a commotion. Back in the Forest of Lost Children, the slash bush is destroyed, revealing Talia. He can't believe she's actually there. She acts normal as Nox asks what she's doing. Talia's about to explain, but Yu-chan notices something. He quickly pulls the girl close, points the torch that way. Suddenly, two sharp furry paws pop out of the forest darkness. It's a giant gray wolf, ready to attack. Talia can't believe this forest is gray wolf territory and only has a dagger to protect herself. Nox shields Talia from the circling wolf. The creature almost attacks, but then howls to call others. Nox and Talia just watch stunned. The wolf opens its jaws, ready to strike. Nox smirks, lets Talia go, and moves toward the monster. He drops his torch, attacking the wolf barehanded. Instantly, its neck twists and it drops dead. Talia just watches the animal collapse, lifeless on the ground. Talia's impressed Nox beat the wolf so easily. She sees his body is stained with blood. Annoyed, Nox thought his brother was following. He asks Talia what she's doing. Embarrassed, she fiddles with her hair, claiming it was just a night stroll. Nox grabs his torch, warns Talia not to mess with him or he'll leave her. Frightened, she grabs his hand, ready to speak. She babbles, but basically says she found it weird he got so strong, so she followed him. Nox gives a small smile, realizing three things. Talia likes him, isn't hostile, and is just a kid unaware of night dangers. Since she's a main character, he can't leave her. He tells her to follow, but he makes one thing clear, he's not helping her. He's just fixing this so it doesn't affect his family. Realizing her mistake, Talia just apologizes. Nox figures Talia probably won't do anything dangerous again. Timidly, Talia calls Nox and thanks him. He's stunned. She's about to speak, but sees something ahead. The wolf's howl brings a pack, ready to devour the kids. Nox lights his torch, seeing wolves surrounding them. The wolf pack makes Talia tremble, hiding behind Nox. Nox tells her to move back. She'll get in his way with his sword. The young man realizes he needs to refocus on his goal despite the unexpected stuff. He figures this is pre-game, so no boss yet. Instead, a lower-level elite monster will show up. It's an evolved gray wolf, just like the last one. Knowing his enemy doesn't mean things will go well. Two wolves charge at him, and he cuts them down in a flash. Nox says everyone gets cornered sometimes. He stares at the wolf pack, knowing he's cornered, but it's not over yet. More wolves come at Nox to finish him. He repeats his old motto from when he played Inner Lunatic as Yu-chan. He's a damn weakling who never gives up, so he swings his sword, slashing wolves mid-air. Talia's amazed, certain Nox isn't showing his full power yet. His sword skills are even better. She wonders if Nox killed a gray wolf before, he's so familiar. But remembering Nox told her to step back makes her think. Talia believes Nox still thinks she's too weak, but before she can dwell on it, something startles her, and Nox notices it too. Looking up, the young man states it has finally arrived. We see two scarred paws approaching the battle between Nox and the wolves. The elite gray wolves have finally come to end the fight. Meanwhile, outside, people are searching for Talia and Nox, who have vanished. A servant finds tracks near the Forest of Lost Children, certain they're Nox's and Talia's. The butler gets worried, realizing his young master entered the forest. Hearing Talia might be with him, Emma becomes desperate. She asks what they'll do, insisting they enter the forest now. However, Rodwell tells her not to be foolish, as that's impossible. She questions Rodwell, wondering why they're just standing there instead of helping their children. The butler reflects it's a forest even the Ryan Harbors couldn't clear. Rodwell explains only children can clear it despite their strength. He's puzzled, wondering why Nox would enter the forest. He doesn't think the young man was mind-controlled, as the tracks show he moved with caution. The butler found no sign of anyone breaking the mana barrier. Nox entered the forest on his own. Frustrated, the butler admits he was wrong. This isn't the weak master he knew. He tells Emma there's only one way they'll get back safe. He says the young master must use his smarts to find a way out. Emma, crying, looks at the forest, hoping he does. Servants stop searching, waiting for a miracle. The maid, hopeless, blames herself for Talia's death. Back to the kids, Talia draws her dagger. Nox sees she's focused, even scared. He tells her not to do anything dumb. She could get hurt, just stay out. He tells Talia to save strength to run if attacked. That's her best chance. He rethinks. Killing an elite wolf isn't that dangerous, it's just 2.5 stars. He wants Talia to stay alert and react. He sees she's learned well, but can't rely on her to cover him. He'll do what he can to win this fight. He activates Genius Time, planning to kill all wolves at once. But one wolf stays in real time, startling Nox. Skill active, he can't believe that Wolf is different. One lunges at Nox to kill him. With his new skill, he quickly counters and kills the wolf. The others stop, trembling, puzzling Nox. The elite wolf leader just watches the fight. The other wolves snap out of it and charge Nox. He slices the first wolf in two. A wolf behind attacks, catching him off guard. He tries to turn, but before he can react, Talia's dagger hits the wolf. Nox sees Talia in a tree, warning him. He's thrilled. Talia thinks Nox told her to run if things got dangerous, but she couldn't. Nox is impressed and proud. After saving him, the girl asks Nox if he's okay or hurt. Nox can't believe she helped him after he underestimated her. More wolves attack, but he takes them out. Winded after the wolves, he tells Talia he's fine, but knows he can't relax yet. Talia's glad Nox is okay. Nox, looking at his enemies, hates showing her his weak side. Seeing his hand tremble, he realizes his skills are fading, and it's not even over yet. The alpha wolf finally joins the fight. Nox feels relieved at stepping up. The wolf circles Nox, staring him down. Both recognize the other's strength. Creature finally rushes toward Nox. Surprised, Nox braces for the attack. The creature dashes past him, ignoring him. Nox is baffled, then finally realizes why. The creature appears behind him, striking Nox with its claws. It slashes his arm, wounding him. Talia screams. The wolf retreats into the forest to hide. Nox is super annoyed, trying to stop his arm from bleeding. Frustrated, he wonders if that wolf was really only 2.5 stars. The devs need to fix it. This wolf is too strong. Nox realizes this elite gray wolf, hidden, is much more cunning than in the game. He grips his sword, ready for its next attack. He should have realized the wolf uses the terrain when it controlled the others. Then it emerges from a bush and charges Nox again. This time he's prepared and tells himself to stay alert. He lands a solid hit. The creature gets knocked back a few meters. But Nox sees it's not giving up. Nox senses the monster waited for him to open up. He starts sweating, realizing he dropped his guard. His skills decline. The cunning wolf takes its chance, charging with bared fangs. Everything goes slow-mo. He didn't expect this, wondering if he got overexcited from beating the game. Desperate, he realizes it was dumb to think he'd easily get what he wanted. Nox closes his eyes, bracing for his fate. Hears the wolf growl as if attacked. Talia's dagger hit the creature right in the eye. Nox sees his chance. Her weapon made an opening, letting him defeat the wolf. He can't believe he didn't make that move. He grips his sword and charges the monster. With a precise strike, he stabs the wolf in its belly. With both hits, the creature roars in pain, unable to fight. Its body falls lifeless. Injured, Nox crouches, trembling. He stares at the creature's body, breathing hard. Talia calls to Nox but notices other elite wolves nearby. They flee after their leader is defeated. Talia climbs down to check on Nox, asking if he's okay. He says he's fine. Nox goes to thank her but hesitates. Talia has tears streaming down her face. Nox can't believe he almost thanked the enemy who will kill him. He tells her not to worry, he's fine. But with frustrated tears, she yells that Nox just got hurt and questions if he's really okay. He stands, takes the torch from Talia and says it was just a scratch. Then, stopping her tears and smiling, the girl says she's glad Nox isn't hurt anywhere else. Suddenly, a spider drops from the tree onto Talia's shoulder. Seeing this, the girl is completely shocked, like it's the most terrifying sight ever. Nox, unaware, turns around, wondering if another monster appeared. The girl jumps into Nox's arms for help. He asks what's happening and why she's acting like that. Hugging Nox, Talia tries to explain a spider was on her. She gets even more scared. Desperate, Talia shakes Nox. He's confused, wondering how long she'll cling. Nox smiles, realizing she's scared of spiders, which explains her reaction. He takes the spider off Talia's shoulder. He asks why she followed him if spiders scare her. She says they're terrifying and asks if he agrees. Nox jokes she won't be a knight if she acts like that. She gets annoyed, lets go, and Nox celebrates freedom. But his skills are low, he starts coughing. Worried, Talia asks if he's okay, what's up? But Nox coldly tells her not to worry. Looking at her, he feels proud, knowing Talia really helped. Smiling, he thinks he survived thanks to her, but couldn't say it since she screamed. He silently thanks Talia, but she just asks if he's okay. As the sun rises, Nox says there's one thing left, leave the forest. A shadow is near the elite wolf's body. Dawn breaks, but they haven't left. Emma, crying, says it's her fault Miss Talia is dead. Rodwell, losing hope, says they likely didn't make it. Talia's absence would cause family issues. Many kids vanish, so some call the Reincarnated family useless. Then a butler asks Mr. Rodwell to look. They all see the forest's mist starting to clear. Emma's surprised. Rodwell realizes the forest of lost children is cleared. The maid asks if Rising Mana means that, and Rodwell confirms it. The butler says the forest is cleared, their last hope came true. Emma gets that young Master Nox conquered it. Everyone sees Nox coming out with Talia. A butler announces the young master is here. They whisper, shocked, the young master really cleared the forest and was just walking out. Rodwell smiles, saying he can't help but feel proud. He's sure the Wren Harbor family's pecking order will change big time. Confused, Nox asks why all the staff are here, but Emma quickly calls to her young lady. She hugs Talia, saying she was worried. Rodwell adds the family was concerned about the young master. The white-haired boy coldly replies they weren't worried about someone useless like him, and his family's name was slipping. After relief, Emma gets frustrated, saying she'll repeat all 71 family rules to her young lady. Talia, knowing she was wrong, acts innocent and apologizes. Furious, the woman replies she won't scold her. The patriarch will teach her the rules. Watching Emma, the boy thinks this servant also has amazing stamina, like Rona. The maid thanks young Nox for protecting her lady. Talia apologizes, saying she didn't mean to go into the forest. In a rare kind moment, Nox replies she managed fine and shouldn't blame herself. Talia feels proud but stays quiet. Later, our hero dumps his stuff on an armchair. Taking off dirty clothes, he celebrates that it's finally over. Still, Nox is annoyed Rodwell was waiting outside the forest with knights. Totally unexpected. Pulling from his pocket, he says his mission was worth it. It was the hidden piece he wanted, a ring artifact called the Black Flame Ring. The system shows its details. Darkness attribute, +1 stamina and mana. The narrator explains the ring transfers a bit of a defeated foe's life energy to the wearer. Looking at the ring, Nox thinks this Black Flame Ring is the only artifact that can steal life force. Still, just having the ring doesn't mean he'll live longer. Nox notes life can't be extended forever. A small amount won't exceed his time limit. Putting on the ring, he says as long as he can fight, it's better than a hopeless life near death. He feels his vitality and mana growing. He immediately calls Rona, saying he knows she's outside, so come in. The girl opens the door and asks if our hero can see through walls. The boy replies maybe he can. The girl gets flustered and asks if he can see her body, too. Furious, Nox flicks Rona on the head, demanding to know what she's talking about. She complains it hurts more when her master's mad. Then, for some reason, he challenges Rona to arm wrestle, and she asks if they really have to do this again. She asks if winning means a raise this time, and Nox says yes. But if she loses, her salary drops 20%. They get ready for the match. The countdown starts, and Nox looks super confident. At the final count, in a flash, he slams her hand down. Frustrated and with her plans ruined, she asks what happened. She's mad, saying Nox knows it's wrong for a family member to cut a servant's pay 20%. He agrees. But he adds, rumors say he's the worthless one in the Randhaber family. With a sweet smile, he says that's why he doesn't care about honor. Desperate, Rona tries to apologize. Suddenly, Nox gets dizzy and starts trembling. The system says his constant ailment trait activated, giving Nox a wrist fracture. He's annoyed by his traits. As a kindness, he'll cancel Rona's pay cut, but he wants ice and a damp towel. Feeling unwell, he'll be happy with one ring for now and needs to rest. Like a lost memory, we see future Nox sure of his true name, Yu-chan. Later, Nox recaps he got 2 hidden pieces 6 months ago, Call and Black Flame Ring, but he hasn't used them yet. In his room, a sign says he's grounded. He sighs in frustration. He didn't cause trouble, cleared the forest of lost kids, and can't believe he was punished, not rewarded. Furious, he asks if Rona agrees. She says yes, but as a servant, her pay would be cut if she spoke ill of the patriarch. Nox vents on Rona, threatening to cut her pay if she doesn't act as he wants. She quickly says the patriarch was strict and you should understand Nox. He sits down. He thinks he's been trying to adapt and live productively, watching Cal. But he couldn't go on, his life was ending. The system notifies Nox he has 147 days left. He's annoyed, saying it cares more about his life than he does. Tired, he says he can't take it. He needs to ask his father to leave. Rona stops him, saying she just heated his bath. Suddenly, someone knocks. It's Rodwell, telling Nox the patriarch wants him. Nox looks surprised by this sudden visit. A flashback shows hundreds of bodies after a war. Theo is there, sword in hand, among the dead. Theo faced creatures wanting him dead. It was the night of the massacre. Demons hovered, ready to attack. They charged Nox's father to kill him, but his swords emitted dark energy. Theo easily killed all creatures in a flash with his dark energy sword. That was a memory for the young man. He thinks about the demon swarm, the humans taken, and the dreadful massacre night. The young man wakes up, dark energy comes from him. Theo says a child might get the tyrant's blade, but he can't trust chance. He needed a sure talent. One of his kids must kill him later, it's tradition. Rodal arrives, saying the young master is coming, but Theo's annoyed. Theo asks his butler to bring Nox, thinking even he couldn't clear the forest of lost children. He's amazed his son did it. A reward is logical. The delay was due to family vassals not believing Nox changed. They're investigating if he cleared the forest. Theo can't ignore them, so the investigation is necessary. Nox interrupts, bows to the Patriarch. The Patriarch tells him to stand up, and he does. Ranhaber says his son knows his actions were wrong, and Nox agrees. As Patriarch, he gives credit even to the unworthy, and called Nox for his reward. Nox is surprised when the Patriarch grants him a request. He'll fulfill one wish, no matter what. Nox was stunned, getting anything he wanted. He'd played Interlunatic forever, but never seen Theo give a reward. Nox knew this guy was usually super strict, so it felt like he'd been shot. He finally managed to ask if he could really get anything. Theo says he'll grant Nox anything. He then makes a big promise as the Rhine Harbor Patriarch, swearing on his Blade of Darkness's long history. Nox thought Theo wasn't serious, but he was. Theo adds that if the request is silly, his opinion will change, but he trusts Nox won't do anything dumb. Nox agrees, then asks for time to think. His father says it's fine and Nox can leave the property from now on. No more trouble like before. Still, Nox is happy to be free and thanks his father. Before leaving, his father reminds him. He belongs to the Rhine Harbor family. The next day, Talia, looking beautiful, sadly says she'll only see Nox again at Eldon Academy. Nox just looks at her with disdain, saying nothing. But she keeps asking if they can see each other again, and he stays silent. Robwell scolds Nox, saying he should answer the lady. Nox agrees. He kindly says they'll only meet again if she becomes a full knight, motivating her. This makes her super excited, boosting her knight desire. Nox adds the first step is for Talia to not get scared by a giant spider. Hearing that, she gets super shy and embarrassed. She punches Nox right in the gut, making him spit up some blood. Nox thinks he should have said wolves, not spiders, as she was ashamed. Before leaving, Talia says she'll return as a full knight, and Nox should prepare. Nox is shocked, wondering if she wants to kill him. Emma thanks his family, especially Master Nox, but he asks why. The maid thanks him for saving Miss Talia. Sighing, Nox says he didn't do it because he wanted to. He asks to be left alone, and the girls leave. They board the carriage. Nox watches, thinking someone has left. But he's slowly getting used to this weird life. Nox admits he doesn't know why, but he's actually kinda enjoying it. Then the system reminds him, 146 days left. He reads it and thinks, no time to rest, gotta act. Days later, Rona tells Nox to find a new maid. The boy hears it and thinks, that's actually a good idea. Then Rodwell arrives, greets his master, and the boy asks what he needs. The butler says Eldon Academy sent a trainee servant to help the boy, starting today. The green-haired girl greets Nox, introducing herself as his new exclusive maid. Our guy, acting aloof, introduces himself. Gitri de la Villa, that name makes him remember her. Nox uses his system to analyze her info. He quickly learns she's there to monitor him, sent by Theo Rhine Harbor. Just before this, on the same day, his system again warns him, only 140 days left. He thinks when your time's limited, it just flies by. Still, he's evolving super fast, despite the penalty. Watching flowers on the balcony, he realizes he'll soon enter Eldon Academy. Ronan arrives, tells him he starts Eldon Academy in 2 months, asking if he's nervous. He asks if she's happy to be rid of him, flustering her. She cries, claiming she's already missing Nox. Our guy says he won't cut her salary, so stop exaggerating. He thinks if his stats don't improve soon, he won't survive the academy. Eldon is the Empire's top academy, where the country's strongest cadets gather. Survive that, and he'll be villain Nax von Rhine Harbor. He laments how hard his life has been. Back to our guy analyzing the girl's info. Gitri shamelessly offers to support Nox. He knew they wouldn't let him leave freely, so Gitri's presence makes sense. Theo von Rhine Harbor, one of the world's strongest villains. Many wonder if he got his power just from swordsmanship. Theo became family master because he was extremely cautious, always suspecting everyone. Then, we see him tell Themaine he has high expectations for her. The green-haired girl quickly agrees to her master's orders. Theo notes she'd fallen behind in family succession. If she nails this mission, the Rangarbor family will back her. The maid offers to help young Master Nox, but Theo tells her not to. He starts radiating a crushing pressure, totally confusing her. She quickly changes her mind, saying she'll watch the boy and report to her lord. Jitri leaves, remembering her master's words. The young woman was breathless. She reveals a necklace with a pendant under her blouse. Looking at it, she says she can't mess up anymore. The pendant actually holds a photo of Jitri's family. Later, night falls and our protagonist is in bed. He's deep in thought, still thinking about the spy. He thinks his dad wanted to know if he was truly Nox. Demonic possession was common in Inner Lunatic, and Nox was taken over by Demon Number 1 in the game. He says as long as his dad doesn't find out who he is, it's fine. But the real problem was Jitri. He notes if the girl isn't in the main story, it's a waste to ditch her. Originally, Jitri was supposed to lead the Lavelia family. Her uncle killed her parents, so she lost her spot as head. She ended up a Rhine Harbor servant, escaping her family. She seemed cheerful and smiling, but inside, Jitri was tired, hollow, and breaking. Before the main plot, her final decision was to end her life, stopping all the pain. Confused, our protagonist wonders what to do. Changing the story to save someone meant to die seemed risky, like putting a noose around his own neck. The next day, Nox talks to his maids. He says he'll hunt monsters in the forest from today. His maids will join him, but Rona's uneasy. She's scared, not wanting to even imagine hunting monsters there. Jitri quickly agrees, showing no reaction. Rona asks her not to just agree with everything, but Jitri seems embarrassed. Nox figures it's normal for a maid to fear monster hunting, since the request was kinda crazy. Still, Jitri quickly agreed, but we see she was actually shaking with fear. Nox tells Rona he knew she'd used all her days off, so no time off today, and Rona gets super annoyed. The little white-haired demon pressures Rona. Obey or he'd cut her pay in half. Rona, giving in, asks if her master wants a bow or a sword. Seeing Rona quickly agree, Nox just smiles, but Jitri calls out to him. Jitri asks if she should tell Lord Rodwell that Nox is leaving. Nox nods, thinking his priority is to boost his lifespan. Without hesitation, the three ride off to the forest for the hunt. Theo watches from a window, eyeing Nox. Days later, in the cleared forest of lost children, Nox's group gathers. A giant white wolf rises to attack. Nox charges the creature, ending it with his sword skills. One strike kills it, stealing its life force to boost his lifespan. Nox gained 2 extra hours of life, but is totally exhausted. He wonders if he's killed all the wolves in the area. Nox notes gaining 2 hours of life from this hunt is almost a success. His maid, bringing water, says he's hunted an hour and asks if he's not tired. Nox seems irritated, confusing his maid. His hunt took longer since he didn't activate Genius mode. He only gained 1 hour and the math wasn't adding up. It was unfair, and he couldn't do this constantly. Nox realizes his main worry is the limited monsters. He'd already killed most after days of hunting. At this rate, his plan for a good life would fail. Nox tells his maid fewer monsters nearby is a problem. Jitri can't believe Nox calls that a problem. Others would call him crazy. Nox sees the sun setting. Nox tells his maid they have no choice but to go back to the mansion. She asks if he wants his bath ready, promising a nice temperature. Nox thinks that's typical for a hygiene assistant. He says he wants to bathe before dinner. The maid smiles and quickly says she'll handle it. Rona, annoyed and jealous, says she'll clean Nox's room. He just tells her to do what she wants. She quickly grabs her gear, still envious, and gets ready to leave. Nox calls for Jitri, his maid. She asks what he wants, and he says he has a question for her. Coldly, he asks Jitri who she serves. She hears this and gets very worried. Nox says a beautiful sword is useless if you can't wield it. So if he can't use his maid, he won't hesitate to discard her. Jitri starts to stumble over her words. Since she's silent, Nox figures that's her answer. Nervous, Jitri starts sweating. She tries to speak, but Nox interrupts, saying he already gets it. He tells Jitri not to worry, he won't question her anymore. He even thanks her she didn't lie. Nox says it doesn't matter who Jitri serves. He'll treat her as his own. Jitri is left in shock, speechless. Nox walks past his maid, saying she can use him if she needs to. He thinks using each other is enough, even better than mutual trust. That's the relationship he already has with her. Soon, night falls. Rona tells her colleague Nox is super cruel. Eating sweets, she says he always teases her and is abusive. Smiling, Jitri just agrees with her friend. She'd heard rumors young Master Nox changed, since she was with the Lavelia family. She thought it was made up. But he beat the twins in one hit and got to go to the academy. Nox really secured his family position, unlike her. Even as the legitimate heir, her life totally fell apart. She looks at her parents' photo, remembering what Nox told her. Confused, she wonders what he meant by use him. Later, a weird rumor spread in Rhine Harbor. The rumor claimed Jitri was expelled, unfit to serve Rhine Harbor. She then got a letter. The letter said she, the useless heir who betrayed her family, would pay. Jitri would lose all her rights as a direct descendant. In despair, she thinks she can't stay in Rhine Harbor much longer and expected it. Rhine Harbor is one of the greatest shadow families. She was a commoner, lost her family, serving someone useless, with no right to. Walking the halls, she thinks she'll soon be fired or serve someone else. She gets to her friends and says hi. Seeing their reactions, Jitri realizes everyone probably heard the rumors. She says she's used to that hateful stare. Suddenly, Rona rushes over, saying she looked everywhere. Jitri wonders if she knew the rumors. Then Rona grabs her hand. She wonders if Rona was mocking her or truly a friend. Either way, Rona was being foolish. The maid then pulled Jitri away. Finally, she thinks she, young Master Nox, and Rona were all foolish. On his balcony, our protagonist thinks the end is near. He notes his father probably got the letter too, not just Jitri. He knew the charges were made up, but sadly couldn't help her. If he helped Jitri survive, who knew the butterfly effect? Later, in the Forest of Lost Children, a wolf dies. After hurting that creature, Nox walks off for his next target. Rona asks Jitri if young Master Nox seemed aggressive. Hidden with her friend behind a bush, the maid says her master used to be nicer. But today he was weird and Jitri was confused. The girl says Nox's behavior makes her uneasy. He keeps hunting more wolves, his sword all bloody. He's confused, wondering why the monster hasn't shown up yet. He explains the Forest of Lost Children has a hidden boss that randomly appears when only 20 monsters are left. He wanted to kill this monster for stats, but it wasn't happening. Suddenly, he feels a huge crushing pressure. A shadow rushes past him, making him wonder what it was. A creature flies by, and he realizes its speed is insane. He realizes this power means it's the hidden boss. So he turns around. Nox is happy the elite Wasp King finally appeared, ready for a challenge. But he knows he can kill it, so the battle begins. Suddenly, Jitri calls out and jumps in front of him to block the Wasp's attack. He thinks he could have blocked it himself, even without her help, but he wonders why she tried to help him. He's confused who'd run at a monster to save someone they care about. Angry his servant was attacked, he declares he'll use his powers to save her. He grips his sword, activating the Genius Mode skill. In a flashback, Jitri's on the ground with her parents, wondering why she always falls and cries. Lavilia says her wounds never fully healed. But this applied to hearts, too, not just knees. She wondered if they'd foreseen everything. She then remembers Nox asking her who she served. Jitri's totally confused, unsure of the real answer. She remembers her uncle killing her family and claiming them as his own. She keeps wondering who to serve, Nox's words flashing through her mind. After defeating the monster, he's worried about his maid. Desperate, he tells her to hold on, assuring her she'll be fine. It's over, and he'll take her to get treated. Seeing Nox's face, the girl thought he was lying, never planning to use her. Barely conscious, she wondered why his voice sounded so shaky and angry. Then she passed out. In his office, Theo read a letter, confirming it was a problem. Rabaul confirmed the letter was true. The Lavilia family had disowned Jitri for good. Theo thought he brought Jitri to take over her family, since they'd lost their leaders and were unstable. He figured this was his chance to take control. The family was unstable, the next leader unclear. If the Rhine Harbors got involved, they could take over. But Jitri was kicked out before he could act, so what now? He told his butler they had no choice, asking what to do with her. Rodwell said it's a shame, but keeping a maid without a family for Nox would make Eldon Academy look down on them. They needed to handle it quietly, and Theo agreed. Suddenly, someone burst in, calling for his lord. Rodwell asked why he came in without permission. He apologized, saying Nox arrived with an injured maid from his hunt. She was poisoned and critical. Nox used a super expensive antidote without permission, so he reported it. The butler, surprised, asked if Nox really used the mandrake potion. The man sadly confirmed it. Rodwell said it was super expensive, and Theo wondered if Nox got so attached to that maid so fast. Nox's father thought, who knows what such feelings lead to? At the mansion, Rona frantically shouted, asking if Jitri was awake. Seeing her friend open her eyes, Rona cried. Jitri was confused, wondering what happened and if Nox was safe. She remembered sacrificing herself for him, wondering why. Rona explained Nox gave her a super expensive antidote, but she forgot its name. Rona explained Nox threatened the doctor to give Jitri the potion, ignoring everything else. She thinks Nox's kind side is still there. Jitri wondered why Nox did that. Jitri tried to sit up, but Rona urged her to rest. Her wounds were critical. Jitri asked for Nox. Rona said Nox went for the housekeeper. She'd tell him when Jitri woke. She left, telling Jitri to stay put, promising to return. Ignoring orders, Jitri got up, went to her bag, and packed. She shouldn't be here. She felt like she didn't belong or deserve anything. Feeling super alone, she opens her locket, looks at her parents' photo, and takes it out. Jitri leaves the locket with a letter for her master. saying it's payment for the potion. Before leaving, she thanks him for saving her life. But as she walks out, someone shows up. A strong voice asks where she thinks she's going. Standing in front of his maid, he stares her down. Again, with a serious look, he asks where she's going. Earlier, Nox asks the doctor if he only cares about the potion's cost, even with someone dying. The doctor, embarrassed, says that's not it. Actually, Nox didn't have the Patriarch's permission to use it, so he couldn't give her the potion. Plus, there were other reasons, but they weren't important. Nox asks the doctor if his family rank is higher than Theo's son. The man quickly apologizes and bows, saying no. Nox orders him to use the potion, saying he'll tell his dad himself, and not to worry. After giving it, Rona asks if Jitri's okay. The doctor says the poison's gone, so she should be fine. Crying, Rona is relieved her friend is okay, then asks what Nox plans to do. Before leaving, Nox tells Rona to let him know when Jitri wakes up. Elsewhere, Theo asks his son what he wants, saying it's rare for him to visit. Then, he asks if he's there because of the maid. Before speaking, Nox activates his acting skill. He reminds his dad he promised him anything he wanted, and Theo agrees. Then Nox says he wants Jitri de Lavilia, even if her family disinherited her. Theo feels a bit uneasy about this sudden request. Nox thinks to himself that butterfly effects or Theo's spy don't matter anymore. That day, watching Jitri try to save him, he realized something important. The answer she hadn't given him about who she served. Jitri's actions now showed she served Nox. His father agrees, saying he understands, and if that's what Nox wants, he can have it. Nox stops bowing and stands up to talk with his dad. Nox tells his dad his useless son has one last thing to say. His dad, fed up, just tells him to say it. Nox gets annoyed, and his acting skill drops. He tells his dad, even if he's Theo's father, to stop messing with his people. His face turns cold. He leaves without a word, his dad watching him go. Now Nox faces Jitri, asking where she was going. Trembling, Jitri says she's leaving. She no longer belongs. She thanks Nox for everything. Nox asks one last time, where was Jitri going instead of helping him as his maid? Desolate, Jitri just says her master should know. She explains her dad ordered her to watch Nox, and deceive him too. She asks why Nox is stopping her, saying she deceived him. Jitri says she can't complain, even if Nox kicked her out. So why is he acting this way? Nox wonders if this is the real Jitri. This side of her seems more alive. The one that wouldn't give up pushing through hard times. Nox tells Jitri people make mistakes. She denies it, saying she wronged him. Nox replies that's exactly why. He says after that she can't just leave without making amends. Who said she could go? Jitri is shocked. Nox tells Jitri to stay. He doesn't care what his dad thinks or needs the Lavilia name. He only needs her talents. Walking past, Nox says he wants her to stay by his side and make amends. Jitri is overjoyed, never hearing such words since her parents died. Crying, she tells Nox she understands. She'll stay by his side to the end and help him. Nox smiles, saying that's great. Jitri asks if he still wonders who she serves, and Nox says yes. So Jitri asks if Nox already knew who she served. Excited, Nox replies he totally knew who Jitri worked for. Later, Rona tells a friend Nox threatened the doctor, saying he'd kill him. Just then, Nox shows up, telling his maid not to insult him to his face. Rona's shocked Nox heard everything. Nox sees Rona didn't even try to hide it. He complains she didn't make excuses and denies insulting him. Rona, seeing her friend, asks if she's better, saying not to push herself to help. So, Rona takes the clothes Jitri had and tells Nox she'll dry them. Nox immediately puts his hand on his head, wondering why his maid always causes so much trouble. Nox asks if Jitri knows she's going to the academy with him. She says yes, her prep is almost done. She packed basic stuff Nox might need. Books, meds, emergency items, clothes, and the cat hat uniform. Jitri keeps talking, but Nox just smiles, seeing how diligent she really is. He also notices Jitri doesn't force smiles around him anymore, making talking to her way more comfortable. Now, they don't need fake compliments or pointless small talk. But if they get cornered someday, back to back, they'll betray each other. Still, for their relationship, this was good enough, a real win. Another day, someone asks Nox if he's really okay. It's Jitri, who says bad rumors about him have been spreading lately. Nox is confused, thinking worse rumors than before? Impressive. Embarrassed, Jitri says rumors claim Nox kept her as his maid because he was in love. Hearing that, Nox starts shaking, shocked he could feel so embarrassed, even as Nox. Afterward, he apologizes to Jitri, saying she's getting teased because of him. But she says that's not why she brought it up. She just thought Nox might be uncomfortable with the rumors, so she wanted to let him know. Nox tells her not to worry. She's probably heard the old rumors about him being the useless, idiotic, incompetent youngest. Jitri tries to calm things, but Nox says he'll fire her if she keeps lying, so Jitri admits she has heard those rumors. And worse, there are rumors Nox is a pervert, and she asks if it's true. Nox calms himself, thinking his image is way better now. Before, he was a reckless, useless weakling. Now he's just a somewhat capable brat who does what he wants. He still needs to find a balance, though. Nox is the villain, and he needs to keep that role so the protagonist can shine. He's not the main character. He tells his maid to forget it and stop talking about those rumors right now. He suddenly gives the girl a task. To survive at Elden Academy, he says both he and Jitri need to be prepared. The girl asks what preparations he means. Nox sees Jitri's stubbornness as trustworthiness, so he decides to reveal a bit of his plans. It makes it easier to instruct her. He plans to study magic before the academy and wants Jitri's help. The girl is shocked, asking if he knows it's illegal and still plans to do it. Nox confidently says yes, acting like the family's useless pervert. Jitri calls him shameless. Also, Nox was resentful, but she agrees. She's sure he has a reason and will find basic books to help him. Nox smiles, realizing the girl is competent as expected. Suddenly, someone shouts, and Nox wonders what the commotion is. He checks his window to see the noise. Rodwell announces Master Grain is arriving. Nox realizes his brother is finally back after graduating. He'd somehow forgotten this important event. Pleased, he says his chance to extend his life is here. Nox tells his maid he needs to go on a mission. The girl sighs, asking what he's up to now. He hums while watching his brother arrive. Later, a banquet is served. Theo praises his son for graduating Eldine Academy. Grain von Reinharber thanks his dad. Nox recaps his brother's history. He's Theo's second son and one of Nox's older brothers. Grain is a flashy guy, likes materialistic women, and is an opportunist. Grain shares more about his academy time. Nox says Grain's true personality isn't exposed because he's seen as a worse failure. His brother is great at politics. Grain used those skills to make graduation easier, as Eldian Academy is famous but tough to graduate. Nox notes less than 1,000 passed the test, and only half graduate. Then, Theo asks his son if his Chater's departure date is set. Grain says yes, he's heading to Southern Chaters in 3 days. His dad figures if he's going now, it's a monster hunt, and Grain agrees. Chaters is past the Rhine Harbor Range. It's a neutral southern zone by the wild desert. It's barren, monster-infested, the worst wasteland. Grain's mission, stop a monster wave. Arkham Empire rule. First mission must be completed to become a knight. Grain tells his dad Chaters fills with monsters in winter, so the Imperial family wants to act. Theo says even as an Outerland, other districts will suffer if it falls. He tells Grain don't tarnish the Rhine Harbor name. Grain bows, so says he'll remember. Nox thinks the Chaters mission isn't a simple monster hunt. It's more than a side story with complex plot lines. He needs to profit big from it. Nox asks at dinner if his brother is really going to Chaters. Grain says yes. To profit, he needs to join the Chaters mission. He asks Grain if he can come along. His brother and father are shocked by the useless member's request. His brother asks what Nox is talking about, and if he knows Chaters. Nox says he's heard it's neutral, monsters attack unpredictably, and bandits rule. Grain says he's heard a lot about Nox. Nox remembers Grain's ability, precise detection. Grain asks if Nox really cleared the Lost Children's Forest with Stillreiner's daughter. Nox says yes, thinking Grain's skill detects lies if the target status is lower. That skill made him a political expert. Grain starts reassessing Nox's actions. Nox says yes, his seal mentality skill counteracts precise detection. Nox's brother, annoyed, says he's done good things. But he can't let someone not admitted to Eldian Academy join. He won't retrieve Nox's corpse. Theo stands, tells his son to wait, saying he can ensure it won't happen. Then he orders his son to take Nox. Grain tries to protest, but Theo simply states that it's an order. Nox remains silent, stunned by his father's action, and finally, Theo mentions that their family will provide the necessary supplies for the mission. Moreover, Nox should make the necessary preparations to depart in 3 days. The boy, confused by the entire situation, questions what just happened and if his father really granted him permission that easily. Reflecting on it, he wonders if his father is planning something with that decision. Nox's brother, completely furious with what's happening, demands to know what Nox is plotting. Grain also asks if Nox has truly lost his mind, exuding an intimidating aura. The young man responds that no matter how crazy it is, he can't be any crazier than he already is, and Grain questions if his brother really dares to joke. The older brother grabs Nox by the collar, warning him to be careful, since it would be a shame if he got hurt after gaining that rare chance to go to Chaters. At that moment, someone accidentally spills a glass of wine. We see that the one who slipped and caused this was Jitri, who is utterly shocked. In reality, the wine spilled over Nox, and Jitri, embarrassed, apologizes, saying she'll wash it for him immediately. Grain releases Nox, treating him with disdain. Nox tells his brother it seems his maid made a mistake and then apologizes on her behalf. After that, he excuses himself and begins to leave with Jitri toward his room. Before exiting through the door, the boy says he'll see his brother in 3 days when they head to the subjugation in Chaders. Hearing his brother's insinuation, Graham just watches Nox leave, seething with anger. A short while later, we see our protagonist thanking Jitri after changing clothes. He remarks that, thanks to her, he managed to get out of a problem, and the girl responds that as her master certainly has a knack for getting into trouble. Confused, she asks if everything will really be okay since Chaders is such a strange place, and Nox merely responds that it'll be fine. Suddenly, Rona's voice rings out, echoing through the room as she calls for her master. She asks where their young master just said he was going. Hearing this, our protagonist questions Ick has made forgot that he is the young master here. Nox simply replies that everything has already been decided, thinking to himself that the news of a useless person joining a subjugation in Chaders is indeed shocking. Jitri, concerned, also speaks up and says she's siding with Rona this time and won't stay silent. She asserts that she thinks the Chaders region is very dangerous, with hundreds of monster and bandit attacks. Nox thinks that's exactly why he's going, as it's his chance to increase his lifespan. So he responds that both of them should stay calm as he knows exactly what he's doing. The boy adds that for this mission, he'll be going alone, so they should stay behind, but Jitri just says she's sorry. Then she comments that she can't let Nox do this alone. Jitri says as his maid, she has to help him, so she's coming along. Nox warns she could get hurt, but Jitri already knows that. Defiant, she fires back. Same for you, Nox. Rona said he's weak and gets sick easily, so Jitri has to go. Nox can't handle a long trip alone. He always forgets his stuff. He'll need laundry done. After that massacre, Jitri asks if he really thinks he can do all that alone without help. Nox nods. It makes sense. She points out little things he'd have to handle. If he died, Jitri would have job problems with the Ren Harbor family, so she has to follow. He finally agrees, but says Jitri must obey him and learn to ride Cal. Only then can she come along. Jitri agrees she's actually close to Cal. Rona hears this and asks, really? Close to him? Confused, Rona asks how Jitri did that. Jitri explains she spent half her pay on good sugar cubes for him. Rona asks if the horse didn't like hay too. She says Cal is as arrogant as his master. Nox hears that and says Rona's staying. He taps Rona's head, then tells Jitri to help him. Since she's coming, she needs to prep some things. Before leaving, Nox sees Rosa's worried, wondering if she'll be okay. Suddenly, a knock and the three look at each other, confused. Rodwell opens the door, telling young Master Nox his dad wants to give him something. Nox is totally confused by this surprise. He remembers Theo saying the family would give mission supplies, wondering if this is one. Also, Theo seemed to back him at dinner, so his dad is probably up to something. We see the patriarch welcome his son into his office. The boy bows, saying he heard his dad had something. The man says yes, but if Nox gets it, is up to him. He opens a box with a huge sword, saying it's the first Rhine Harbor patriarch's. Nox is speechless seeing it, wondering if it's really the first patriarch's sword. He tells his dad this is super unexpected, since it never showed up in Interlunatic. Even as a veteran who beat the game 27 times, he didn't know it existed. Confused, he wonders why his dad would give him this. He doesn't get it. He's set on getting this weapon no matter what. But looking closer, the sword looks really weird. Theo tells his son it probably just looks worn out to him. But it's been with the First A's patriarch his whole life. Excited, he asks his dad what test he needs to pass to get it. His dad just says, try to hold it. He hesitates, then grabs the gigantic sword's hilt. As he grips it, a strong dark aura comes out, filling the room. Nox realizes his mana is totally getting sucked into the sword. The blade's color shifts, and Nox instantly sees it emit a purple aura. Theo stands up. As expected, you're sensing mana now. The boy's confused. His dad walks past, just as I thought, amazing. The sword absorbs mana and releases it many times over. Confused, Nox says this won't be an easy sword to use. But suddenly, the dark mana from the weapon is getting stronger. The system warns his mana is absorbing too fast. His Master of Acting trait destabilizes. Nox instantly knows draining mana this fast is dangerous. Theo then says, to get the sword, he just needs to hold it for 10 minutes. Hearing this, he's shocked. Nox knows he can't last that long right now, mentally cursing his dad as a jerk. Theo finally reveals the sword's name, Stormbringer. As Nox struggles, the system shows info on it. One detail, its special effect is when Nox kills something. The sword absorbs his mana, converting it into its own stats. After gathering enough mana, it unleashes its power. But Nox isn't worried about that. He's focused on the system saying his mana is gone and it's switching sources. The system says his life force is now mana, and the sword's absorbing it. His life drains fast, leaving him in total panic. He can't handle the weapon anymore. He needs to give up, or something bad will happen. But he can't let go of it. He realizes that the cursed sword is exploiting him while Theo watches the scene. The Patriarch, observing Stormbringer, states that the weapon is a magical sword that grants great power to its wielder, but also harms them. The first Patriarch used it to build the family. Yet, while Rhine Harbor became respected, his descendants were unable to wield the weapon. Theo reflects that most people would have fainted from exhaustion the moment they gripped that sword, and lasting more than 10 minutes is incredible. Furthermore, he admits that even with his training, he can barely hold it for an hour. Still, he ordered his youngest son, who hasn't even learned how to control mana, to hold that sword. The man notes that, including the recent incident where Nox saved his maid, his son has always been involved in major events. So none of this could be a coincidence. In other words, his son is truly evolving far beyond his expectations. Theo even thinks that perhaps the boy has as much talent as the Sword Emperor, and in fact that's why he decided to test Nox. If he can endure wielding it for 10 minutes, it means he could become the greatest patriarch in the history of their family. At that moment, our protagonist places the sword's tip on the ground and begins to rise. Finally, Theo reflects that Nox will probably surpass him, and, eventually, he'll be able to kill him, which is exactly what he desires from his son. Watching Nox, the man remarks that, as he thought, the boy was indeed hiding his strength. The young man questions what his father is talking about, but seriously, Theo merely walks past him. Imposingly, he declares that from now on the Sword Stormbringer belongs to Nox. The boy, sweating after all he's endured, simply thinks that this is a nightmare. He comments that he should at least get his life force back before his father just leaves. 3 days later, we see the cavalry prepared for the Chader's subjugation journey. Jutri, riding on the same horse as Nox, mentions that she had a lot to bring, and luckily the dimensional bag could hold it all. Nox, however, maintains a serious expression. Seeing this, the young woman thinks Nox is very anxious for the mission, but suddenly he seems to be in a foul mood for some reason. Our protagonist is only thinking that despite Theo giving him another item besides Stormbringer, he's not even remotely grateful after seeing all his hard-earned life force disappear. Observing his brother, the boy comments that Grandly brought a lot of stuff. Moreover, even though he allowed Nox to come along on the condition that he carry all of it, it's still a bit much. Though since he'll make use of grain, it's fine. Suddenly, an argument breaks out about which direction leads to Chader's. For some reason, the guides are debating which way to go. Grain, furious, thinks they'll be way delayed if this keeps up. He confronts his subordinate Ron, who promised they'd find the way. Grain's captain, embarrassed, apologizes, admitting he'd never taken this route. Our protagonist calls them idiots. Jutri asks what her young master means. He tells Jutri he wasn't talking to her, but those incompetent fools. He rides his horse to Grain and calls out. He asks Grain if they have a problem. Grain snobbishly just says it's none of his business. Nox realizes Grain's lost. Furious, Grain turns, saying he just told him to butt out. Nox, confident, offers to lead them to Chader's. Grain thinks he's lived in the mansion his whole life. No way he knows the way. Nox asks Grain to guide, saying he's skilled enough that even vassals praise him. Grain looks thoughtful, but Jutri thinks the lie is absurd. Grain thinks arriving late is an issue. If Nox fails, he could crush his brother's confidence. So maybe a small detour isn't bad. Grain tells Nox, "You're confident? Go ahead." Nox smiles at his brother. Nox takes the lead on Cal, heading out. Later, we see a campfire and a camp by Grain's vassals. Furious, Grain asks his vassals how Nox found the path so fast. The south isn't fully explored, and even guides struggle. This makes no sense. Irritated, he can't believe his brother did it, never leaving the mansion. Nox, behind a tent, listens. He knows this route best. For a veteran player, it's easy. Nox says he's visited Cheaters hundreds of times. It's strategic. Jutri arrives, asking her master how he found the way fast. He points, asking if she sees the ground. He says they're owlbear prints and feathers. This monster, a barrel hybrid from the south, lives on Cheddar's southern border. Following its tracks makes finding Cheaters easy. Jutri asks if camping in an owlbear's home is safe. Nox says they fear fire and won't come near with this many people. Grain's vassals praise our protagonist's skill. Being compared to his younger brother makes Grain furious. He asks Schultz if Hartz and Allen really lost to Knox. Grain's butler quickly confirms it. Grain wants to see how strong Knox is. His butler says he has the perfect item for that. He pulls a small leather pouch from his clothes. Grain laughs, saying Knox is in for a rough night. Jitri and Knox coordinate vassals setting up camp. Once ready, night falls. The guard's asleep. An ugly ogre creeps from the forest toward camp. Knox wakes, realizing it's begun. Sword in hand, he stands. Jitri asks what's up. He tells his maid to wait. He has things. Under moonlight, our protagonist faces creatures. They're ogres with spiked clubs. Knox handles it well, not taking it seriously. He sees the item Schultz threw, knowing it's the cause. He explains it's female ogre pheromones. Grain used it to attract monsters. His brother won't scare him. Drawing his sword, our protagonist tells Stormbringer to take his life force. The system confirms. An enraged ogre charges him. Knox dodges the first attack. He leaps, dodging a blow from the ogres. In midair, he turns his sword down, aiming for a monster. He pierces one through the back. Then, the other two monsters jump to attack him, but with crazy speed, he manages to hit both. One monster bleeds ketchup from its wound and falls. Knox realizes his sword is really strong. He worried it might drain his mana too fast, but it's fine. He turns to a monster, still wobbly from the first hit, and hits it again. He feels his sword goes exactly where he wants. After taking down 3 ogres, only one monster is left. The last monster drops its weapon, super scared of Knox. It tries to run, but Knox can't let it escape. He whistles for his horse, Cal. Cal, asleep, quickly wakes and his mane glows. Cal runs past Knox, who jumps on. They quickly chase the ogre, not letting it escape. Knox finishes off the last monster from his horse. After the final ogre falls, the system says he gained 1 day and 9 hours of life. Jitri comes out of the tent, worried about Knox. As he gets off Cal, he reminds her to wait inside. Confused, Jitri asks how those ogres appeared at the forest edge. Knox ignores her, saying someone lured the ogres there. She's shocked. He says it was Grain von Ranhaber. Knox says his brother used the ogre's behavior to make them attack, putting his tent far. The maid realizes Grain was trying to control Knox, and he confirms it. Grain thinks Knox doesn't deserve the family succession, so he tested him here. Knox explains Garan, the eldest, is stronger, so Grain used a cowardly plan. Annoyed, Knox says his brother's plan won't work. He grabs a vial. Jitri asks what's up. With a wicked smile and a scary look, Knox asks if she knows how to get more ogres. He collects the ketchup from the monsters. He'll use their blood to get more ogres. Ogres avenge fallen friends, and he'll use that for revenge. Suddenly, a crystal orb makes noise and glows. Grain wakes up asking why the mana crystal is acting weird. It's a magic tool for sensing monster mana. He wonders if it's broken. They're at the forest edge, so nothing strong should be around. Suddenly, a loud noise outside. His men yell for their young master. Schultz bursts in, telling his lord to run. Grain, confused, asks what the fuss is. He steps out to see ogres attacking his men. Schultz says they just showed up in big groups. Knox's brother is totally shocked, saying those creatures shouldn't be there. By morning, ogre bodies are piled up in the camp's ruins. Grain is furious, yelling at his subordinate and calling him a fool. A sleepless Maggie asks if Schultz put the pheromone on his tent. Schultz quickly replies he's clearly put it on young Master Knox's tent. Meanwhile, our protagonist is just waking up. The young man says it's a beautiful morning and asks his maid if she agrees. Jitri just tells him to eat breakfast. He invites her to join him by the fire, but she says she can't eat with her master. Knox says they're on a mission, and it'd be annoying if she had to cook separately. He jokes it'd be bad if a monster showed up. Trying to scare Jitri, he mentions dozens of ogres might show up, just like near his brother's tent. Jitri rubs her head, and Knox asks what's wrong. She replies her master is quite shameless. Knox just laughs, telling her she'll get used to it soon. Meanwhile, Grain orders his subordinate to take down all tents. They're moving out. Looking at a blood-stained tent, Knox thinks it needs to be thrown away. Otherwise, it'll keep attracting ogres. His maid asks what's next, and if they should help Grain. Knox firmly says no, he won't help his jerk brother. Jitri is confused, saying if they don't help, the creatures will keep coming. Our protagonist agrees, noting that even if they move, the ogres will likely follow. In his mind, he admits this is exactly what he wants, but Jitri will scold him later. Knox thinks he needs more ogres for a longer life and for future plans. He looks up, smiling, excited for what's next. Meanwhile, the ground starts cracking underground. Knox tells Jitri to pack up. It's time to move. Deep in the forest, an ogre walks along. Something sneaks up, the ground collapses, and all that's left is its ketchup spilling out. Riding his horse, our protagonist notes it's day 2, and he's learned the terrain. Chaders is still far, which is a bit worrying, but everything's going smoothly. Suddenly, his brother Rain rides up to Nox. He asks what Nox plans for the ogres, wondering if he has a real plan. Nox, looking confident, quickly says he does. Killing ogres would attract more monsters, so they should just leave the forest fast. He adds that if they escape, the ogres won't be a problem. But Grain seems unsure, not trusting Nox. Grain complains, realizing his brother suddenly took command of the soldiers, and everyone was praising him. Suddenly, a soldier asks Nox why he keeps hitting the ground with that branch. Our protagonist reveals he's doing it because monsters could appear anytime. Hearing monster, the soldiers get scared, not knowing what's lurking. Before Nox can say more, the ground beneath the horses starts to tremble. Jitri is totally scared, unsure what to do. Something starts cracking the ground, then emerges, revealing itself. Nox, however, seems excited, yelling, "Here it comes, the worm!" A grotesque, eyeless creature with a disgusting mouth, like a demogorgon, bursts from the ground. Nox explains the worm is a monster, like a worm and serpent. It's a malformed dragon. The boy notes this huge creature can't use magic, but it's famous for being strong. Even if dozens of ogres attacked, the worm would still be the hardest monster to beat. Nox was eager about this monster, thinking about what he'd gain from beating it. He figures soldiers would be shocked if they knew he was luring the worm by hitting the ground. Then he orders everyone to hide in the bushes. The soldiers are confused, as they were getting ready to attack. Nox just thinks, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. He'd told Grain earlier that the ogres wouldn't be a problem. Suddenly, a huge rumble startles the soldiers. Nox reveals he never planned to get rid of the ogres, and an army of them approaches. Jigtree, confused, warns her master about the creatures. Nox just tells her not to worry, he's got a plan. Nox asks his servant which monsters the worm both loves and hates. She's confused, but before she can speak, the ground shakes and she moves closer to Nox. Nox reveals the worm's most hated and loved monsters are ogres, and a battle begins. Ogres are the worm's main food, but always seek revenge, making them enemies. Skilled adventurers know how to use this. The worm, with its odd mouth, lunges at an ogre, immobilizing it. Other creatures attack the giant monster. Everyone realizes the monsters are fighting each other. Grain, hiding, gets annoyed, wondering how Nox knew. Jitri asks her master if they should just wait. The creatures keep fighting, but Nox picks up a stone and throws it. It hits an ogre, and he keeps hitting others. Jitri asks what her master is doing, if he knows ogres might attack. The worm defeats more enemies, and Nox's strength and life increase. Nox apologizes to his servant he needed to damage ogres for XP. The battle ends fast, and the worm defeats all enemies. Grain says his brother used the ogres well, but they lost. He asks what to do. Nox says killing the worm is tough, and he needs to act to escape. Nox stands up and orders his people to prepare for battle. He says to throw spears or flaming arrows into its mouth. Soldiers quickly rise and follow Nox. The battle begins, and everyone fires at the worm's mouth. The monster recoils after attacks. Nox draws his sword, saying it's his turn. He activates Genius Time and sees everything slow. Time practically stops, all projectiles freeze. In a flash, Nox charges his enemy to end the battle. He leaps at the monster's paralyzed mouth. He quickly slashes the worm, then lands as his ability deactivates. Before anyone saw, the monster was sliced up. The system says Nox's life is extended by 10 days. Its body falls next to him. Seeing the time gained, he says it's way more than expected. He thinks it was good for a medium monster, but without the ogres, they couldn't have killed it. Nox's stamina hits 5 and his evolution blessing is gone. He says with the curse and weakness, he lost his evolution blessing, but he finally hit 5 stamina. 2 soldiers ask Nox if he got hurt. He says no and congratulates them. The soldiers praise him, saying he was amazing. Proud, he just says it was nothing and to reorganize. But then the ground cracks again. Confused, Nox gets scared as another worm pops out. He's really scared, not understanding why more worms are here. Suddenly, an unknown figure appears, instantly slicing the worm in half. They have white hair and a monocle. Nox, still shaken, wonders what that was. He asks the stranger why they're here. The person lands on the worm. Nox calls him the Sword Genius. He thinks this guy is the strongest in Inner Lunatic, Celsus's student, and a sword emperor. His name is Paracelsus. The genius tells Grain he saved him, no thanks. Nox stares, thinking Paracelsus hates nobles. Schultz calls him reckless, asking if he didn't know who Grain was. The sword genius apologizes. Schultz asks who he is. He says he's Paracelsus, a mercenary. Nox thinks Paracelsus's noble hatred makes sense given his past. But their first meeting was supposed to be at Eldon Academy. The boy wonders what's going on and what to do, staring at the beam. Later we see soldiers Grain, Nox, and Paracelsus riding horseback to Chaders. Nox's brother asks if Paracelsus is really a mercenary and also going to Chaders. Paracelsus confirms it's his first stop, a great place for monster hunting. Our protagonist thinks Paracelsus traveled the Empire so he could train before classes. Grain tells the boy he seems confident and asks if he's traveling alone. The young man suggests Paracelsus join him to fight monsters, promising good pay. Paracelsus, knowing Grain and Nox are Theo von Reinharbers, wants to see their skills. An irritated Schultz asks how the boy dares to be so rude, but Grain tells his subordinate to relax and gives Paracelsus time to think. Grain thinks Paracelsus took down the worm in one hit, so he needs him. With a sly look, he plans to get the soldiers' attention back from Nox. Later, we see a small town with few people. Nox tells his brother they've arrived, confirming it's Chaders. Seeing few people, he notes the town is more deserted than in the game. Grain looks around. The town is run down, rats everywhere. A peasant child asks the noble for food. The boy walks past the girl disdainfully, ignoring her. Nox ignores her too. Paracelsus looks uncomfortable. Suddenly, a tall, long-haired man approaches. He's Tigin, the village's head of security. He recognizes Lord Grain von Reinharber, the academy grad, and his brother, Nox. Tegan knew they were coming for an investigation. Paracelsus finds meeting the Reinharber Sweared Emperor's sons impressive. He had high hopes for their Chaders mission. Nox handled the worm okay, but Paracelsus sees them as spoiled masters. Watching Nox, he finds them a disappointment. He notes the town still isn't working right. The Night Order is just pocketing people's money. Citizens can't fight monsters and would be happy just to eat. Tigan says it's late, mission details tomorrow. Nox and Grain should rest at the inn. Soldiers unpack, tie horses. Paracelsus talks to Grain about his earlier offer. Grain gets excited, thinking the genius would join him, but Paracelsus turns down the proposal. Grain asks Paracelsus what he'll do. He also asks if Paracelsus plans to fight the monsters all by himself. Paracelsus says he'll stick to his plan, but first, he wants to make sure Grain is safe. He adds that skilled people can thrive anywhere. That's just how the world works. Nox sees this and figures they'll meet again soon. Night falls on the town. Nox tells G-Tree to rest. They're leaving early tomorrow. He closes his door, looking at the window. Nox looks out the window and sees the child who asked for food, with other kids by a fire. Little Brivel was next to her brother, almost asleep. Nox walks up and asks the kids if they want food. He opens a leather bag, full of bread. He hands out the bread, telling the kids not to be scared. The girl cries, asking if it's real. Nox thinks he can't save everyone, so this is just a small act of kindness. The girl thanks him, and Nox wants a future where kids don't beg. But first, he had to survive Chaders. G-Tree, watching, knew this would happen, since Nox was just acting tough. Tegan tells Nox and Grain that Chaders' southern region gets swarmed by monsters every winter, so they ask the Imperial family for money and help. Grain asks if the walls protect the village. Tigan says yes, they've been there ages and need fixing. The town's fences are totally worn out from monster attacks. Nox thinks they won't last an hour once the monster wave starts. Tigan explains that as a subchapter, it's his choice to save the village, and he usually does save Chaders. The reason is clear. The town is valuable and will be expensive land in the future. Tigan remembers something. The monsters are different this year, with way more furious ones. Nox thinks these people don't realize more furious monsters will help them later. Still touring, Tigan reveals the worst part. Some villagers saw a griffin. All the soldiers, including Grain, are shocked. He says a griffin makes things much worse. He asks Taven where the creature was seen. Taven says it was near the wilderness. Nox realizes the main thing for defeating Chaders is getting rid of the griffin. This monster, the king of the wilderness, needed to be stopped. The young man confidently declared he'd end it. Outside town, Tagan revealed this was the wilderness of the infinite horizon. That area connected to Talon's east, a neutral barren zone. Nox finally spoke, saying something strange was happening there. Griffins usually don't stay near Chaders, they're in Talahan. So the boy asks Tigan why they're here. Tigan and Ron look really uncomfortable and surprised by the question. Our protagonist suspected who would betray him during the subjugation, and the side quest began. He'd first clear out the village's rot before starting his main objective. Inside a house in Chaders, someone reads papers. Annoyed, they crumple one for no clear reason. It's Schultz. He initially ignored Nox, thinking him useless, but now Nox made him lose favor with Grain. Schultz, furious, vowed he worked too hard for Grain's favor to let Nox get away with it, promising to punish him. Tutru walks down the stairs. Schultz, seeing a chance for revenge, watches her with a nasty look, recalling her name. The young man learns she was a peasant. He suddenly stands, slamming his hand on the wall behind her. Being a jerk, the young man grabs her hand, pulling her close. Jitri, confused and scared, asks Schultz what he wants. The chubby boy says yes, he wants many things, but nothing serious. Just a private chat with the servant. Jitri, not naive, quickly pulls her hand back, freeing herself. Still annoyed, she says she has nothing to discuss with Schultz. Annoyed, Grain's butler says there's nothing wrong. Even as a knight, he deserves some fun. The same goes for the servant. He then harasses her, hand on shoulder. Jitri thinks if she rejects him, young Master Nox will lose favor with young Master Grain, causing trouble and family attention. She doesn't want her young master to suffer. That's why, even unwillingly, the girl begins to give in. Schultz, furious, says that thanks to the girl's master, all the efforts he made for 10 years went down the drain. He was going to make Jitri repay him. Suddenly, Nox arrives and comments that Schultz probably wanted something in exchange, and that he would pay personally. Then the boy separates Jitri from Schultz. The way he does this is anything but pleasant, as Nox rips the chubby boy's arm off. With a malicious expression and his bloodied sword in hand, the boy questions Schultz how he wanted to be rewarded. On the ground, the chubby boy is completely desperate, questioning what the boy was doing, and then claiming that even he wouldn't be able to escape the consequences of this. Furious, Schultz asks Nox if he thinks young Master Grain will just stand by and let this pass. With an even more terrifying expression, Nox asks if Schultz was threatening him with his own brother. This time, the boy rips off the other hand of his enemy, leaving him in utter despair. With his arm and now his hand severed, the boy begins screaming in pain. He places his hands on the ground to support himself and admits he was wrong. Even though Nox comes from a powerful family, our protagonist doesn't let himself be shaken and retorts that even though he comes from a powerful family, it's not him who doesn't know his place, it's Schultz. At that moment, the boy ends Schultz's life, piercing him in the back. Jitri, completely shocked by the scenes, says that her young master Nox did something wrong and that Master Grain wouldn't let this go. Suddenly, Schultz's boss arrives in the room, questioning his brother what the hell was going on. Desperate, you can't believe Nox really just killed his subordinate and butler. Without hesitation, our protagonist simply replies that it's exactly what he did, and Grain asks how he dared. He yells at his brother's face, stating that a useless person like him shouldn't have the audacity to say he's the one responsible for killing his knight. Unshaken, Nox simply says that his brother has misunderstood the situation and that you should ask him for the details of what happened first. But Grain, completely enraged, grabs his brother by the collar to try and intimidate him. He gets closer to Nox and asks why the boy killed his butler, then states that if he doesn't provide a reasonable explanation, he won't let him get away unpunished. The young man then reveals that Schultz tried to sexually assault his servant, and, as her master, he couldn't just stand by and watch that scene like a child. Grain seems to handle that poorly and says that the servant was just a peasant. However, Nox starts emitting a powerful aura and questions what his brother just said, and if he could take responsibility for this. With a terrifying expression, he grabs Grain's hand, pulling away from his collar, and the boy is completely intimidated by his brother's power. Grain thinks that in fact his useless little brother was quite talented, and he can't believe it. The boy steps back and says that Nox should at least have reported this to him first, but the boy replies that he was the family's famous useless one. In other words, he wasn't used to doing things like reports or waiting. That's why he suggests that the two leave the problem for their father to solve after they return home. Lee gets super annoyed, seeing his brother wanted something from him, and says they'll decide when they get home. The little white-haired boy smiles, says great choice, then calls his servant. They leave. Grain watches Nox, wondering how he got so strong. Confused, he thinks he's seen that Sword Nox is holding somewhere. Grain realizes he can't underestimate Nox on this mission. Outside with Jitri, Nox thinks the soldiers are in for a huge mess. They've split into factions, and now have a big decision to make. They have to pick, Grain or Nox. Soldiers will probably fight over it. Nox looks at Jitri, noticing she's shaking for some reason. He asks if she's okay. Tearfully, she says yes. Then she turns and asks if her master will be okay. Tears streaming, she asks why Nox did it. If this gets worse, he'll make more enemies. He'll be in danger again, and it'll all be her fault. Offended, Nox asks if Jitri still doesn't know her master. He's the useless one from Rhine Harbor, so it doesn't matter. Jitri should never bow to anyone. Wiping tears, she agrees, saying she'll remember. Soon, someone drinking puts a cup down. Annoyed, Grain wonders how that useless guy dared to cross him. Grain says Nox was way different than he thought. That sword's was super weird, probably just a coincidence it looked like his dad's. Grain needs to watch Nox, but with Schultz gone, he doesn't know who to trust. Ron enters, saying the first floor situation is handled, but something's off. Young Master Nox is nothing like the rumors. Grain looks at Ron, thinking Nox isn't the only one who's different. Ron's supposed to be a knight captain who's done a lot. So, Grain asks how Booksmart Nox knew that better than Ron, and why he paid so much for such a sloppy job. Grain decides to use Ron's night orders a bit longer, since the monster wave hasn't hit. He tells Ron to clear monsters and bandits, and to tell him right away if Nox acts weird. The knight captain says he understands and leaves. Later, Jitri asks her master what he did today. She asks if he checked the village walls. Nox, looking at a potion, says he did. They're barely standing. Jitri asks how they'll stop the monster wave. Nox says they should go somewhere specific. Jitri, confused, asks where they were going since their inn was on the other side. Our protagonist just replies that he was thinking of recruiting someone new for his team, remembering that even here it was possible to find someone excellent. In his mind, Nox reveals that this character was Alina, someone he recruited every time he came to Chaders, and she was a genius at making potions. This meant that she was a potion maker, a witch who makes potions to make a living. Hooded Jitri and Nox walked through the city in a certain direction. The girl, confused, asks if there really was a genius potion maker hiding in such a rundown place. The boy promptly replies that there is, and Jitri states that she didn't understand since, if she was so talented, she shouldn't be hiding in such a remote corner. Nox simply replies that Alina probably has her reasons, while thinking that the reason is that this is the hidden route to complete the Chaders arc, because in the future, Alina will be working for another empire instead of Arkheim. And if the player doesn't complete Chaders with that hidden route, they will never find Alina again. Heading toward an isolated part near the city's sewers, Nox asks Jitri to follow him and watch where she steps to avoid falling. Jitri simply agrees, but in her mind, she wonders if there really was a person of that level hiding here. As they walk through those dark corridors, suddenly a light turns on, and Jitri quickly becomes alert. We see a girl drinking inside her house, while refusing to believe that she was stuck in this dead-end world. Sitting in a chair while drinking, the girl wonders how she ended up like this. Until suddenly, our protagonist with Jitri arrives and catches the girl red-handed. He simply says that he found her, thinking that this would be his potion maker. Alina, completely startled, screams in fear while questioning who those two people were, and why the hell there were other people in that place. And Jitri seems incredulous that there really was someone there. The servant tells her master that the genius potion maker he mentioned was actually just a drunk. A while later, we see Alina apologizing, saying that she had no idea Nox and Jitri came from such a respected family. The boy simply replies that it's fine, and says, changing the subject, that he was there because he needed to tell Alina something, so she should pay attention. In his mind, he thinks that the girl was a character with the most potential for development, a talented potion maker, and he needed to get her. Even so, she had some flaws, so he activates the information system about her. We see that Alina's negative point is that she is an alcoholic, and some of her skills are dormant. Irritated, Icky thinks that this was to be expected while questioning which talented characters the useless one from the family would manage to recruit. Of course, none, let alone a genius potion maker. He then tells Alina that she's a bit of a problem, but they have no choice, and she simply says that she doesn't know why, but she wants to apologize if she made him angry. Jershari calls for her young master and says that she knows she's going over the line with what she's about to say, but she doesn't think hiring the alcoholic is a very wise decision. Nox replies that he knew that too, but they were out of options, and Jitri simply accepts the choice. Returning to the subject, Alina says that she wants to know why they came to find her in such a place. Our guy gets straight to the point, asking Alina to join his group. He promises to give her whatever she needs if she comes along. Alina trembles, really wanting to say yes, while Nox just watches. But she apologizes, saying she can't take his offer, she has something to do. Nox boldly asks if her task is about her friend May. The drunk girl asks how he knew, and our guy says May will be executed soon. But if Alina took his offer, he might even save May. With a sly look, he asks if that chance changed her mind. Back home by the sewer, Alina thinks her friend May will be executed soon. Our guy's offer to help tempts her. Elena remembers May, her only friend who always fought tax collectors. May never backed down from Taigen extorting the poor, which got her caught. Crying, Elena wishes they'd taken her instead of May. If she'd been tougher, May might be safe. Tearfully, she tells herself she couldn't save May. She doubts Nox will save her, or even try to help. She knows she won't forget this anytime soon. Elsewhere, in a tavern full of drinkers, Ron was chilling, drinking wine. Suddenly, a subordinate asks what Grain was like. Ron coldly replies, "Just an idiot." They were just faking being a Night Order, and Grain fell for it. A lackey says raiding the Night Order's place, Ron, was worth it. They even got a pendant for bigger jobs. Ron adds if they show the badge to the Rhine Harbor family, they'll think he's Captain Ron of the Night Order, getting benefits. A colleague notes it's funny their boss has the same name as Ron. Ron says if they take Grain hostage, they'll get a huge ransom from the Rhine Harbor family. One soldier looks bothered and suspicious, asking if everything will be okay. He says Ryan Harbor is the most powerful of the three shadow families. Has anyone messed with them and lived? Everyone celebrating gets uncomfortable. They call the boy a coward and an idiot. Ron tells his colleagues to shut up, asking what he thinks this is. The chief comments that they are in Shaders, and even the Imperial family abandoned that dump. In other words, they were going to make Grain a hostage, take the ransom money, and then head back to the east. And no matter how influential the Rhine Harbor family is, they couldn't do anything in a hostile nation surrounded by sand. The false Ron then comments that, after seeking refuge there, they just need to enjoy a life of luxury, and with that, everyone congratulates their captain. However, the boy who was scared reports that this time that brat named Knox was with them, and he could probably realize the deception. The false Ron retorts that the boy was indeed dangerous as he had a persistent personality, so everyone should know not to get involved with Knox. Ron agrees, saying they should just keep drinking. Suddenly, the candles that were lighting the place go out, and darkness spreads throughout the tavern. The captain's two subordinates question what happened and who blew out the candles. The false Ron tells his men to stay calm, but suddenly, blood flies onto his face. As he wipes the mess off his hand, he looks at it and wonders what the hell that was. Looking to the side, the man sees his bowl-cut friend without his head and panics, not understanding what was happening.